We
Who
are.
suggested this again?
It was my idea.
Your idea. I love you, Caitlyn. You're my friend. But when we finally get to hang out, I'm gonna stab you in the kidney.
Okay, just make sure you. Oh, I might need that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the Thought Patrol podcast. This week, I am joined by Shawn, who is with me over Discord, chilling out. For
30s
tonight,
are the new 20s.
Oh, yes, for tonight, it will be just the two of us. So, we have come to pleasure your ears. We have a lot in store for this week's episode. There's a lot to talk about recently with the Game Awards and PSX happening over the week. So, we're going to get right into it and try not to fuck around because I don't want a repeat of last week, 3 hours and 15 minutes of an episode. So, we're going to go ahead and get started right away with an intro. How have you been, Shawn? How's your week been?
I have been pondering the meaning of the universe, practicing my sweet ninja moves, playing the new Destiny expansion. What bit of it there is.
Yes. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you've been able to come and hang out with me for the next couple hours. My week has been good as well. In the life of Kyle, recently we went to go take Bruce to the vet, get him checked up, because he started when he was first adopted. He started with an interceptor, and which is a heartworm preventative, and it also has a dewormer in it, and we had to go get another one for him. And turns out we go to get another one, and boom, Bruce has traces of hookworm. So we need to deworm him now. It's basically just pour powder in his food. It's nothing serious. He just has traces of it and got little eggs. So we just have to be careful. Make sure we go around picking up his poop so he doesn't infect anybody else and keep him from licking his ass. And for the most part, he's still good. He's physically very healthy. He has a little bit of a elbow like depreciation in his left front foot, and so when he sits, his right paw is fine on the front end, but his left paw is at like a 90-degree angle to the left. So it's not hurting him or anything, but in order to prevent it from getting worse, we can't let him get fat, and we got to start him on glucosamine or something like that, which is basically for joints and stuff like that. So to keep him where his joints are as healthy for as long as possible, slow down the depreciation so he doesn't have a lot of pain later in life trying to walk. But besides that, he's been good. It was quite a ride trying to get him in the damn car to get him over to the vet. He's not a fan of transportation at all. So I had to pick his ass up, all 86 pounds of him, shove him in the back seat, and he's really excited to see what's going on, but he's afraid because he's in a moving car. So I'll be sitting on one side. I'm like, "Hey, Bruce, look out the window," and I'll have both windows in the back open so he could look out him. And he'll be curious and he'll look from a distance, but he will not leave anyone's side. He still tries to sit right next to you to make sure that's like, because we were kind of short on time, so there was speed going, and he was getting somewhat thrown around. So I was holding on to him to make sure. Yeah, so it was good. He's fine. There's nothing really wrong with him. He's doing good. Right now, we're just working on deworming him. Got to pick up his like fucking monster-sized poops because he's a big dog, and there's not much else going on with him. Besides that, the week has been pretty normal. Nothing really out of the ordinary has happened. Still just living life, I guess. We recently finished decorating the house for Christmas. Today, we put up the last of the outside lights, and I think it looks pretty good. We usually try and go somewhat all out when it comes to decorating the house, at least on the outside. So my mom went. She's like, I need to find. We need like blow ups or something, like something we could have sit in the yard. I'm like, oh, okay. So she goes out and she comes back with like two $30 like inflatable decorations, and I'm like, okay, cool. We got like a Frosty and a Nutcracker now, and we just shoved them somewhere in the front yard. Actually, in the Discord, I put pictures of it. Of it being completed, so it looks nice. I'd say it looks pretty cool. But yeah, we always enjoy going somewhat all out. We're all pretty much done with Christmas presents, actually. So the tree's got its presents. Everyone's got something sitting for them. So they have something to open up, even if it's something small. But hey, it's all about giving gifts.
Nutcracker looks like he's depressed.
He is quite, because he has to guard the house. Doesn't get much else to do. We were actually trying to. My mom wanted to turn the trees. We had like palm trees in our front yard. Well, they're kind of like palm trees, and the problem with them is they're really tall. And she wanted to turn them into candy canes, so she wanted to wrap red and then or white and then red lights around them. Problem was we didn't have a ladder that opened into a triangle that was large enough. So what we had to do was we were trying to sit a ladder against it when that extended out, but like quickly realized how dangerous it was. So straight up, we kind of like tossed, because one of the lights is like a white rope light. We like tossed it over one of the branches and it got stuck up there like a grappling hook, and we used that to wrap it down. So we only have white lights on it because the red ones are actual like lights. They're not. It's not a rope light. But besides that, it's pretty much done. It looks nice. I always love when all the decorations are done, like going out at night and just looking at the house at night, especially when it's cold. And it is actually cold today in Florida. It was not cold a couple days ago, but we've been hit by the cold front that made it like snow in Texas and all that shit. So it finally reached down here, and it's nice and chilly, light jacket weather. So we're just getting ready for Christmas. Really excited. I just love this time of year and the kind of feeling that it comes with. But besides that, I'm trying to think. I know that recently we all of our friends in our friends group, since the Monster Hunter beta came out, we all got into the Monster Hunter beta, and we've been messing around with Monster Hunter and what we've been given, the bare minimum that they provided us for the beta, at least until the full game comes out on the 26th. And what do you think about it, Shawn? Are you new to Monster Hunter? Is this your first time playing the game, or have you played some of the earlier
types of games before? But I haven't played Monster Hunter before.
Okay.
It's interesting. I don't know if there's enough there to keep me interested for $60.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems kind of repetitive after a while. Like, it would be different if it was handled kind of like an RPG where there was different towns and villages, and you'd have story quests, but things generally revolved around finding and defeating beasts and finding strategies for them. Yeah,
for the most part,
it's not.
Again, like I said, what we have right now in this beta is like bare minimum from what I've played in previous titles. There have been, the way it worked in the last one that I played was Monster Hunter 3 or 4 Ultimate. And the way that worked, it had pretty much everything you described. You'd start in one town. In that game, the way it worked is there was a monster that destroyed part of it. So you take your caravan and move to a different town, and there's a whole brand new town you have a whole new set of quests that you deal with. And the way the multiplayer worked was you'd kind of go inside this like Grand Master Hall, and you'd summon friends in the hall, and in the hall is where you would eat, and you'd go out and do quests as a group. And then if you were playing single player, you had the town to walk around. They had different armor smiths and weaponsmiths that you come across, and there was maybe 3 or 4 different towns as you progressed through the story, and it changed. So I don't know how exactly they're going to be doing the multiplayer in this game. I don't know what they intend to change. I haven't really been following it too much, even though I'm a decently sized fan of the series, because they're usually pretty on top of the fact. Good games are very lengthy games. Like the ones I had on 3DS, I put hundreds of hours into trying to get like top level gear and stuff like that. So we definitely don't have a lot. It's pretty interesting. From the fact that the quests are down to 20 minutes, where usually they'd be 45. There's no salvaging quests, so you can't just explore, and I think that's intentional. They don't want us walking around the maps just to like explore and look around. I think a lot of it is just to get a basis of what the gameplay is and how the weapons are. But that's not a good way of drawing in people. But for the most part, it's the same game, so I enjoy it. I'm excited to see if they do intend to do anything new, or what new monsters they might bring into the formula, because there's a shitload of monsters that already exist in the Monster Hunter universe. So I don't know what they might changed to add new, because they even have like certain missions where you had like set piece moments, where there's one where in 3 Ultimate, I think it was 3 Ultimate, the first mission of the game, you're driving on a sand boat, and you get attacked by this big ass worm monster thing, and everyone on the boat has to man cannons and like break pieces of him, and then he'll like get knocked out, and you drive up to him, and you mount him, and you actually like get to do damage to him, but he's like fucking ginormous, almost Shadow of the Colossus style. And then you get knocked off, and you have to go back on the boat, and then you're back to trying to just disable him, and then eventually he crashes into the city, and you have to like jump out and you fight him like on foot. And this is all like one big mission that you can do, and it was super cool and really fun. I don't remember exactly if it was... I remember playing it with one of the... I think I played it with my next door neighbor when we played together, so I remember it being multiplayer. But like, it was so cool, and it was like set piece. There was like a really big set piece moment, really cool. And it's just, we don't see any of that right now. But again, I really feel like this is a very just bare, like I said bare minimum so many times, but like a very basic version of the game. But it makes it hard to convince people to purchase it, because they don't get a lot. Like, they're like, is this it? And I'm like, well, I don't really know. Like, from the other ones that I've played, it's not anywhere close to the full game. Like, this is pretty much just like if you were given a RPG, and it's like you're given one dungeon and you have 2 characters and you go fight, and they don't let you see anything else of the game. That's kind of like what it feels like to me. So I don't know what the full game's going to look like, but that makes it hard to convince you guys to pick it up, because all we have is a couple monsters to fight and 2 maps to explore for 20 minutes. But there's like a whole meta of crafting and preparing for fights, understanding your enemy. I think the new tracking element to the game is very cool. I don't know how new that is, because the last one I played was 3 Ultimate, so I don't know if they added that in cross generations or anything like that. But it's just, if the gameplay itself feels good. At least in my opinion, I like that you're fighting gigantic monsters, and all the weapons have their own role, and they have their own, like, what you're supposed to do. A lot of the weapons have a pretty decently high skill ceiling too, where you can't just go and button spam. You have to understand the combos you're performing in order to maximize your damage output and stuff like that. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, especially someone that has only played little bits of the game before. And I definitely feel like this is just like a small taste of what we're going to get in the final game, and I really hope that's the case. But I have I have a lot of faith in this developmental team. They usually do a very good job of making a full and complete game and a realized concept that is usually a very lengthy game as well. So,
I really enjoy that Japanese one, the one where I bought the first and second part, and I can't play the second part with you until I finish the first one. The one they made the series off of. I don't remember what it's called right now.
God Eater?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, well, God Eaters, I mean, they're kind of similar, but I feel like there's a bit more depth in Monster Hunter from what I've played from the 2 games.
Well, God Eater doesn't have you... I mean, God Eater is somewhat plot. You got a little bit more plot, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But not nearly as much. There's no, like, crafting or anything.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because that's not the kind of game that it is. But I think that's what's going to pull Perry in, if anything. Perry loves crafting systems and games where you can do all this customization and shit. Like,
I think if he decides...
the secret seduction for Perry.
I think if he decides to stick with ranged, that's where he'll get the most enjoyment out of it, because all the ammo that he was blowing through in the beta, none of that he'll have right away. He'll start with normal ammo, and if he knows, say, we're going to go fight a water monster or something like that, and we have to fight underwater to go after this monster, which they have done before. They've had underwater battles, which aren't as bad as they sound. I haven't really had any issue with the underwater fighting in Monster Hunter before. But he'd have to stock up on electrical ammo or something along those lines and be like, okay, guys, we need to take a salvaging run. I have so many recipes that I have remembered in my head. We need to go out. I need this type of bug. I need this type of herb. And I need this. Let's go. I know that they exist on this map. I'm going to go out. And in salvaging runs, you have unlimited time. You could just wander the map and kind of explore. And usually there's a monster or 2 lingering, but for the most part, you're just there to salvage and get supplies to craft for your next fight or whatever. So I think if he sticks with ranged, he'll really enjoy what he kind of stepping into, because the skill ceiling is very high for the ranged characters, with both the positioning you have to understand and just being on top of recipes for crafting and understanding exactly what kind of ammo you need and what ammo is proper to use at what time. So I think he'd find enjoyment there because there's a lot of it. And the game has a lot of customization as well. We don't see it, again, with this very minimal system in the beta with the presets, but their game is all about making your own character, customizing the way they look, scars. You can even see it in the Japanese versions of the game. I don't know if it's most likely a different build. I don't even think it's a beta, but it was probably something they showed off at one of the events. They have, like, you could put scars on your character, change the way their skin is, age, hair color. You could dye armor. So the game is really heavily customization based, and I just think that they really didn't do a good job of showing off what the game really is, especially for a lot of people that haven't played Monster Hunter. If they, because I don't know, it's not like the biggest title. Not many people I've asked have played through an entire Monster Hunter game or even tried one. So I think they're really fun. I've never played them with a lot of multiplayer friends, so I think that's where it shines, is being able to hunt a monster with a bunch of friends, especially ones that are particularly difficult, because everyone really needs to be on point, almost like as if you were doing a raid in Destiny, just nowhere near as mechanically intensive. So definitely interesting. It's very pretty.
I did master the 4 ranged weapons, although I know there's a lot of functions that aren't available in that demo for, like, because they're all supposed to have their own strengths, and the guns really blew the bow out of the water. The only thing is the bow's got a higher crit than anything else.
Also, the bow is
limited
heavily,
functionality.
Yeah, the bow is heavily elemental based too, where the guns, they have their ammos, but a lot of them are just for doing straight damage. The bow is a lot more for applying elements, dealing ailment, and weakening the monster than straight off breaking pieces or doing flat damage. Also, the crit chance is nice too, which helps with elements, because as the way elements work in the game is it's like a bar that you build up, and once the bar fills up, the element applies. So it's not like you just hit them with the poison arrow, they're poisoned. You have to, like, build up the poison bar, which it's all stuff you don't see. It just happens in the game's mechanics, and then they'll get a poison effect to them, and they'll have some type of visual aid that will show that off. And then crits, if you crit with an elemental effect, it doubles the amount that's added to the bar. So it helps a lot better to crit with if you crit, I've seen people crit paralyze arrows and completely paralyze in one arrow or one bullet, depending on. So the bow is much more into, I need to poison, I need to paralyze, I need to assist my team in getting this monster weakened, so he's either down on the ground so they could damage him, or he's slowed or something. So that's why the bow is a bit more effective in that manner than the guns, which are just straight flat damage.
Well, there's the 3 guns. There was the assault one,
the steel assault, the bone shooter, and the fire blitz. I think it's like fire blitz.
Yeah, the blitz was more like you could move a lot faster with it. It didn't do as much damage. It fired a lot more rapidly. And the special with the blitz was planting like a mine in the ground that does massive damage, which is really difficult to use because you're hoping that the monster is going to cross over it. And it takes time to set up. Like, you got to stop, load, and then you plant the barrel of the gun in the ground, fire it, and it's like pistons the round into the ground. With the assault one, it's an actual legit gun. It's not made from materials. It looks like a fucking gun.
Yeah, it's like a
machine gun. It does as much damage DPS as the bone one does, but the special, it fires slightly faster. And certain rounds it can fire repeatedly while holding the trigger down, whereas the bone one, it's all single shot. So it's kind of like the difference between having a machine gun and a semi-automatic weapon. Not everything fires automatic, and it functions in some ways a lot like the bone shooter, but the special with that one is it turns into a machine gun, a heavy barrel machine gun. You just unload with a minigun for like 10 seconds. Otherwise, it works fairly similarly to the bone one, but with the bone one, everything is single shot, so each round does a little bit more damage, but overall it does the same damage. They're both 160, I believe. But the bone one has a function where you load it and then you lay down, and you've got one sniper round that you can fire out that has a farther distance, and it does like heavy damage. But that particular round is extremely difficult to use. And the only thing that was discouraging about the bone weapon, you really need to differentiate it a bit more from the machine gun one. And when you use it, you still have to be like right on top of the fucking enemy. Like, I don't understand that. Like, your range is very limited with those weapons, and even with the bow. Yeah. Which I don't understand why you have to be so close.
And I think the thing with the Fire Blitz, the bone shooter, and the Steel Assault is they're all the same class of weapon. They're called heavy bowguns, and that's why the thing it also kind of shows you a little bit, because although you may build a weapon that adheres to a certain weapon type, it may not necessarily act in the same way that a weapon from that type works. A lot of them have different effects. They're almost kind of in the vein of Destiny exotics, but except every weapon in the game, as you hit not every weapon, but as you hit in the higher levels and you deal with the stronger monsters, a lot of their weapons that they're connected to are have very special effects. Like I was explaining to Hector, one of our friends that we were playing with, that he really likes the Wyvern Blade, which is a katana or a longsword. And one of the katanas from the earlier games was connected to this monster that he would secrete a green mucus from his face when he attacked. And what it would do is it would leave these plots of green stuff on the ground, and they eventually would explode. And what would happen is if he would hit them with his attacks, they'd explode instantly and do a lot of damage to you. But if you kill him enough times, you can build a katana that it's for him. Basically, because every monster has a weapon that you can build from their parts. Same thing goes for armor sets. His katana has his mucus smeared on the blade. So as you're going ham with the katana, every couple of hits, there'll be a mini explosion, which is very good for breaking parts. So there's a lot of unique kind of not customization, but abilities that are spread across the different weapons, especially as you get farther into the late game. And I'm not going to lie, but there is a grind to this game. The thing with Destiny 2 that people complain about is the exotics were not very unique, and they were very easy to acquire. And I think this game kind of shows the opposite, where there's a lot of very unique weapons, but they are very difficult to finally make and come across, because they're very coveted in the game's meta and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting in. If any of you in the community are down to play the beta, I'm going to actually, after this podcast, I'm going to hop right back on PlayStation probably and play some more. I want to hunt some of the other monsters. But if you guys are ending up getting it for PlayStation on the 26th of January, I'm going to be on there. You could definitely hit one of us up, and we'll be happy to play with you guys. So, besides that, I'm thinking there's not really much else. With that, we're all back on PlayStation for the most part, because there wasn't really much going on. I haven't really gotten much into the Destiny DLC besides just watching people play it. Oh, excuse me. What do you think about it, Shawn? I've heard it's not very good. It got a mediocre score on GameSpot, which is like a 5 or 6 out of 10. There's just not a lot of content there. What do you think?
The content's extremely minimal. What makes me so sad is the forest that they make such a big deal out of really isn't that big a deal. It's not all that interesting to me, but the rest of the game is very interesting. Like, the levels are gorgeous. They're super well made. You get to see some really different areas. Like, it's really enjoyable, which is what makes me so sad, is that that's all you get. I mean, it's basically like a 2-hour, maybe 2.5 hour, 3-hour campaign. And then you get the typical expanded stuff, like having to run certain strikes and then certain hidden quests for weapons and things like that you get. but overall, it just felt like, Destiny swore up and down they were never going to do another House of Wolves. They were never going to have another super small content drop. And the
Here we
one
are.
benefit that we got from anything was that, okay, well, even if they do a shitty content drop, we still get these cool big raids to do. Only now they're like, oh, brand new bonus feature. Now you get baby raids. We're not going to give you a full-blown raid, but we're going to give you a little raid you can do in less time, and then we'll reconfigure it and give you different experiences. And by different experiences, what I'm anticipating is them putting the same kind of stuff into it that they do with the Nightfalls, where, like this time when you play it,
from what I've seen,
rebuild health
it's literally it's like a new thing entirely. You're exploring a different part of Leviathan. There's different mechanics involved. This is for some reason it's kind of Vex oriented. I don't know why the Vex are in the Leviathan. I don't know if you use a portal to move out of it. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but this thing is literally a brand new raid. It's just much smaller than a raid. I don't know how much is much smaller. I've seen people beat it in like 1 to 2 hours, but I don't know if that's like speed running it or whatever. But it's all new stuff. It's not like they are reusing the pleasure gardens and there's like a different timer on it.
When they revamp it, it's designed so that they can continue to make changes to it.
No,
so
it's like, all for
what I understood.
Yeah, it's all for the most part entirely new experiences. Like all the mechanics, all the encounters are brand new. The final fight is brand new. It's all stuff that they've designed that's new. They're not like reusing assets, which is what they usually like, which we've seen before. But this isn't like the Leviathan raid with modifiers on it. This is entirely brand new stuff. It's just smaller. So it technically is a new raid. It's just a portion of a raid, kind of. But these raid layers are like brand new content. From what I've seen.
I still feel like it's a ripoff.
Oh, no, I understand.
You put all that
entirely.
money into it. Now, the other thing is the set pieces were great. And the story wasn't bad. It just seemed like a waste of Osiris. Here's this enigmatic personality, and they build him up to be this kind of Spock-esque, like scientific rebel, and then you meet him, and I think his name's Oded Farrar, but the guy who does his voice is awesome. It's the dude from the Mummy movies. He was one of the Magi from the movies. He was also in Resident Evil. He's got a great fucking voice. So they got an awesome voice for him. Yeah. Not what I was anticipating. His voice is a lot warmer than I was expecting Osiris's to be, but they gave you an intriguing character. The final boss was fantastic looking, had a great story behind it, and then you beat it with one of the oldest video game tricks in the book. It was I was so disappointed. Like I was expecting a big fight, and instead you've got like, okay, here's a bunch of strong ads, beat the ads, okay, pick up the football, go slam the football on the goat in the eye. All right, do it again.
Yeah, do it 3 times. You did it.
That was
good.
Yeah. And that was so disappointing because I don't know, man. Destiny shouldn't be easy, and it's like as many good things as they've done with the new sequel, it's easy. Yeah. The only thing that's hard is the Nightfalls, and I don't know, man. I don't want it to be infuriating, but at the same point, you gotta feel a sense of reward from beating something that challenges you. And look, let's put it this way: I did the final fight with Perry, who is not the best at Destiny. He just enjoys playing it. I mean, he's not bad at it by any means, but he's definitely not somebody who sails through everything without a problem. He's not. I wouldn't say he's a pro player at Destiny.
It's okay. It's okay.
Anyway, the point is,
you sit in the same.
I'm not
category,
trying to say
Shawn.
something bad about him, guys. Yeah, I have my strengths in Destiny. I'm awesome at support, but I played through the entire Destiny solo without needing help, and this game, even if I'd never played Destiny before or a first-person shooter, this expansion was extremely easy.
Yeah, the same thing applies to the base game of Destiny. Like, all of Destiny 2, I never once sat there and been like, man, that was kind of difficult. I had some issue. Like, you can breeze through most of Destiny's early game content, and all the difficulty sits in the later content. And I think one of the reasons that another thing is that they were attempting to appeal to a larger, more casual audience with the game. You can see that through a lot
Why
of the
they
game's
dumbed
aspects.
down the character growth.
Yeah. So I think
I
that's
will say
also
that
one of the
it was pretty.
byproducts. Yeah, no, I've seen a lot
It's
of it, and
it's much prettier than any Destiny content's been released before. I think the only thing that challenges it was the Wrath of the Machine set pieces. Some of those were just stunning to look at.
yeah.
They really fucked up Crucible bad, and I think I don't. As much as they say it was an accident, I think it was on purpose. Because otherwise, why would they be like, all right, well, enjoy the super cheap gun that fucks up Crucible for 3 days, and then we'll get rid of it on Monday? No, you have the tech to get rid of it now. You're just choosing to leave it on there.
Yeah, I
that
heard
doesn't
about
make
that.
sense to me.
The
Yeah, literally,
Prometheus
you
lens?
can't play.
You can't do anything.
You cannot without using it. It's impossible.
Yeah, like gun
It's
takes like
absolutely, and
gun
it's
takes like
not fun.
it takes like a second to kill you, and they don't even have to be accurate with it because as you fire it, the effective damage that it does gets wider, so they could miss you and still be hitting you with the gun. It's ridiculously OP, and I don't know who the fuck sat down and thought, I don't know how this got through multiple people, and they're like, yeah, that's okay. Like, did they play test this? Like, some of the best guns in the game
They had to have done it on purpose.
Some of the best guns in the game have no stand against it. Like Better Devils, you can't do anything with it because the gun is, you don't have to be hitting headshots. You have to hit the body and it will still kill faster than most of the guns in the game. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's something you spawn with ammo for. There's no reason to not use it. It's crazy.
If it was a heavy, I wouldn't complain so much. If it was a heavy, it functions like a heavy, but you have massive amounts of it, and there's no. It's just it's really disappointing because I was bringing my other two characters up, and I had to do call to arms, and I had to sit through like 2 hours of Crucible matches of just using a fucking laser, and I hated it.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like if you look at the content itself, it was very, very impressive. Yeah. What they were able to do visually and narratively was really, really nice. Yeah. What I didn't like was the parts of it that severely lacked originality. I hated the shortness of it because right when you're getting into it, you're like, this is really good. Then it just fucking kaputs. And I mean, if you look at any other game that does a content drop, a major content drop, you normally get another, like for instance, like say World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy or any of the other multiplayer games of such, you get like another 10, 15 hours for the gameplay minimum, plus a whole bunch of expanded content, little things, like weapons you can create or armor you can craft or quests for customization or what have you. And this has that, but it's the same exact kind of stuff that they have after every major content release. It's not like, I don't know. I'm just really disappointed. Like, I don't believe that this is Bungie coming even close to doing their best. And I believe that they could have done a lot better. And it's really disappointing, considering how much time they've taken to do this, that they were able to give us a taste of what could have been great and instead was just nice.
I think that's like, that describes Destiny's track record as a whole. Always like a step short of greatness. They always make one change here or there. Like there's maybe almost like there's someone inside, like in the Destiny team, that's like purposely like making choices to make sure the game's never as good as it promises to be or something, because they always manage to fall short of something that you can see could have been great, and you just don't. It's just weird. But like this point of year, I'm happy. Like I do feel bad because the people that in our group, we've had people that have bought the deluxe editions and they're kind of stuck with this shit, and there's not really much we can do. But I'm at the point where I don't know what I'm going to do with Destiny, because I enjoy Destiny mostly because of the memories we have connected to it. But it's getting harder. It's getting harder and harder to justify those purchases, especially with other games that I have a lot more excitement for, such as Monster Hunter, or even like other games that have been out for a while that have just been doing so much better, such as Rainbow Six Siege or Warframe or things along those lines that just have more of a hype to them because you understand that you're in it for, there's a decent content that you can get like enraptured in a way where you're not just playing a story for 2 hours, and then you're stuck grinding asset flipped puzzles in the Infinite Forest. Or they're not even puzzles; they're just little coliseums that you kill all the monsters and move on.
Oh my God! And they just introduced heroic adventures, which are fucking redonkulous. You thought the Inverted Spire was bad as a Nightfall? Try doing any adventure on heroic. More than half the enemies are yellow bar enemies.
Do they apply to all Do they apply to all the adventures, or I thought they just applied to the Infinite Forest adventures? That's what I was
right now, it's Infinite Forest adventures. It's kind of a test run, but it's going to spread to the others.
Oh, that's cool.
And I did one Infinite Forest. You cannot. Let's put it this way. It took me, I don't know, I think about an hour to get through. I don't know, a 10, 15-minute adventure. An hour, because it took, I'm using the origin story at a high. I would put easily 12 clips into a yellow bar enemy before they would drop, and that's just a standard grunt soldier with yellow bar. Like, it was really,
aren't those like the only thing? Aren't the yellow bar enemies like the daemon keys or whatever that allow you to open the door? They're usually tougher than the normal enemies.
Yeah, but the thing is you got a whole squad of them. There's like 20 of them.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've got a bunch of tough blue ones also. The thing is, it's not. Again, it's Halo logic. It's like, okay, if we're gonna make it tougher, we just make them bullet sponges.
Yeah,
that's how we make it tougher. We don't incorporate any, interesting gameplay tactics that would be easy enough to program in. We just make everything harder to kill.
You just mess with values,
and they don't miss.
You die faster, and they die slower. Yeah, you mess with values.
I had enemies sniping me from easily a mile away while I was fighting their compatriots or whatnot. It wasn't fun. It was just annoying. That's why I was telling you the other day, man. Like, I'm gonna play a little bit just because I spent money on it, so I'm gonna try and get some enjoyment out of it. And Destiny has its enjoyable elements, but once while I'm doing that, my focus is going back to. It's going back to Final Fantasy, man. That's why I want you to reignite your subscription. So, because I want to get into that full force. I want to put like at least a few hours into that each week and enjoy. Because I really enjoy playing that, even when we're just fucking hunting for supplies to make stuff. It's still fun to explore and fight enemies.
Yeah, I want to
try and push your limits,
Yeah, I still have that MMO itch because it was never really scratched, and I just need to pick up a Windows license for my account so I could just play it on the computer, use mouse and keyboard, and I'll be happy to join you guys. I just got to make sure I pick the same server again. But yeah, I'm down. I just need to buckle down.
Well, I think
because you're literally rebuying the game. I think a Windows license is like $50-$60. So.
I don't think it's that much anymore. I think they did when I was on the website last time looking for something. I don't think it was that bad.
Okay,
I think it might have been 30 or 40. I think it's 40.
I enjoyed the time I put into that game. I do like it. I think it's a really good MMO, and it's got a nice world, and it's very pretty too. And it would be nice to see how pretty it could be on a PC.
And it's one of those ones where if your friends aren't online, you can still have a thoroughly enjoyable experience playing it solo.
Yeah.
Which I will give to, as much as I don't like ESO because it's so dry, I will give ESO one thing, and that is that the one-player experience versus the multiplayer experience doesn't really change drastically.
Yeah, they do.
You can go in by yourself and go around and run the one-player dungeons and shit like that and have almost as much fun as when you're just riding around with your crew, so to speak.
All right, so since we chatted for 40 minutes. I'm gonna get we're gonna move out of the outro here because we have a lot to fucking talk about. And I said at the beginning I don't want another 3-hour episode. So let's move on to our housekeeping section real quick. Gonna go over some little clerical stuff. Get you guys, if you want to connect with any of us, and you want to get more content from the podcast or check out our other content, we do have a Discord. We have a community over on Discord. If you want the in the description to any of the podcasts or video below, you'll get a link. You could join up, say hi, just chill out with us. Maybe we could organize a game night if you want to play with any of the crew. Sounds awesome. If you have anything you want to discuss with us in this episode, you could also do that through Discord, or you could leave a comment on the YouTube video below, or on any, if your podcasting service allows it. I know some of them do. We'll be happy to hear from any one of you. If you really like our content, you want to get us more, we do this every week. Feel free to subscribe over on, again, any podcasting service, or on YouTube, where our home base is. We do Let's Plays, stuff like that over there as well. There's also, for that, we do also do Twitch streams. So you want to go check us on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/ThoughtPatrol. We'll be over there as well. And if you really like us, you really want to get some brownie points, feel free to leave us a review on any of the podcast services you use. Any star, just be constructive with your criticism. We'll be happy to read it on the podcast. And just thank you for that effort, because that really helps with growth. That it shows when someone searches something, the more reviews they have, the better they show up in search parameters and stuff like that. So with all that out of the way, we're going to move on to our mailbag. We do have a mailbag question from Flash, aka Sam Harris. He is a host, and he likes to send us a lot of questions, which is nice. We like hearing from him. So he says, "Hey, you kooky cats." As 2017 is coming to a close, I'm reflecting on the amazing year that gaming had just been through. With 2018 on the horizon, how do you think the gaming industry will look like a year from now? And specifically, how will the events of this past year affect how games are made and managed? I'm personally excited and anxious about the future of gaming, but I hope that this year opened the eyes of developers and publishers to the hits and misses that happened. Love to hear y'all's thoughts, and remember, when the battle seems lost, there is always an ace up your sleeve. Plus ultra. I fucking love that. So what do you think? Ultra. I know we've shared our opinions on this before.
I've been thinking about it a lot recently. I've been thinking about the way that DLC's gone, not the way it was originally intended, but the way it's grown. I remember reading articles in now defunct gaming magazines where, when the DLC structures first appeared, how they could see, they talked a lot like you tend to talk. You like to take a middle of the road approach to things rather than bolting in any particular direction. I tend to veer a bit off to the side. And they were always afraid that what if it started to get abused? And I remember one guy prophesying by saying that, the thing that I'm afraid of is them releasing an incomplete game and fixing it with DLC. Or telling you what features are going to be in the game and then spending the next year adding it. And my concern over companies using games as business models, like the idea of them being recurring revenue instead of, being complete when they're released. Or the fact that it used, gone are the days when you'd spend $60 and get a fighting game with 30 characters. It starts with 12 and you unlock the rest through doing goals, quests, beating the game with one character unlocks another character. I mean, Soul Calibur was fantastic for that. You got all these characters and you got them over time by accomplishing certain goals, doing certain type of quest missions. That's all gone. That's finished. Now you have fighting games where you spend $60 and you get 10 characters, and then the other remaining 20 characters, you spend another $60 to get the DLC. So and you can't tell me, it's because technology's changed so much, that's why it costs so much more. No, that's not true. They've done studies. Whereas the gaming industry has gone up, when they do things to account for inflation or to look into how much of it's actually existing technology that's already used, there's not that much innovation pushed out anymore. And you can't sit there and try and blame it on how much it costs to get voice actors and things, because you don't have to have Kiefer Sutherland and Tom Cruise in your game. You don't have to. It's not required. You're doing that to push sales. You don't have to do that. You can have a completely amazing game with no-name voice actors. You just vet them, the quality people who aren't necessarily Hollywood bigwigs. So I don't like where it's going. I don't like how they're hiring. It's so much of a business, and I get it. I know I'm all over the place, but I get it. All art follows this path. It starts off in a more earnest place, although it's still a business. The goal is still to make money. But it starts here, and it's more focused on creating something nice and creating something powerful. And, it's more about the work of art itself than it is how much money can we make off of each tiny piece of this game? You know, it used to be you had your publisher in-house. It was all in-house. So you'd have your publisher in one floor going, all right, just make sure we make this much money. And then you had the guys actually making the games, you know, on another floor. And they're like, all right, well, make sure it makes that much money. And then they were kind of left to themselves. And then they'd make the game, it'd get edited. They'd censor whatever they needed to censor for whatever countries it was going to. And the game would make a lot of money. But it would make it all at once. And then you'd have some trickle in money over the next several years. And then it was pretty much forgotten and moved on to the next title. And now they make one game. They try and make sure that there's a focus on internet play. They try and stretch the game's lifespan out over 5, 6, 8, 10 years. They want to make sure that it's visually interesting enough to broadcast on YouTube and TV channels. They want to make merchandising off of that. They want to make money off of the broadcasting, off of advertising, off of DLC. It's become a whole different world. Video games are not, I mean, even from when you started, video games are not the same thing anymore. You're never going to see a world where, you know, Banjo-Kazooie comes out and you just get to enjoy that game. It's complete in its entirety. You're not missing anything. You're not having to pay for all the extra stuff. You're not getting it partially built and the rest through. It's a different world now. Gaming's heart is different. And I think you have to dig a lot deeper to get an experience that you can love as much. And then it's an independent title and it only lasts 2 hours. It's very frustrating for me because I'm old enough to remember a different era of gaming where when you spent your $60, you were getting a complete title and you were getting all the secrets with it and nobody was ripping you off. You didn't have anybody trying to sneak like that Battlefront shit, the Star Wars thing. That didn't happen. Even in the early days of DLC, that wasn't happening. DLC was originally to bring you expanded content to add some life to a game, not to make it valid for another 4 years, but to give you, you know, give you some additional chapters, maybe give you a little bit of a prequel to play, something to buy time and make some additional revenue until the next installment came out. It's not like that anymore. I don't know. The greed is so apparent now, and there's a huge disconnect between the audience who are consuming the art, the artists who are creating the art, and then the guys behind the artists who are putting all the money up there. And it's soured it a lot for me. So I'm on for somebody like me who has multiple perspectives over multiple generations of gaming, I'm on very uncertain ground. I'm scared of where it's going. I don't know what's going to happen to the one-player experience or the cooperative experience. I don't know how much more commercial it's going to get before there's a backlash that can't be controlled. And that will eventually happen. It happens in all art circles. The video gaming as a whole will reject everything that it is and get back to basics, but not back to basics. It'll kind of try and return to form without becoming that form. And then everything will just start over again. And I don't know when that's going to happen or what it's going to be like, but I do not have the positive outlook or the potential positive outlook that you do. I'm mostly just afraid of what's going to happen to the titles that I mean, it's Castlevania is essentially dead and gone. Mega Man's dead and gone. A lot of the classic titles are gone.
Mega Man 11 was announced. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I am not counting my eggs before they hatch. Let's put it that way.
I'm just saying it's on.
I will wait to see if it's actually Mega Man or if it's like some other just monstrous beast. I don't, you know, and what Square did when Square took, it's all signified. Everything wraps in. If you look at how Final Fantasy 15 was handled, and if you look at Square's announcement from like 2 months ago about how they're changing the way they garner the single player experience is gone as their focus on creating the most, atmospheric, enveloping, immersive story that they can tell. And in is how much Overwatch can we copy? How can we become League of Legends? And that breaks my heart because outside of movies and books, and anime, video gaming was the only other place I went to escape into things, and I don't want to walk into a room that's just drenched in dollar signs.
Yeah, I understand. And I think a lot of your gripes and a lot of the things that you're seeing, the thing about gaming also is as it's evolved, we've seen kind of a split happen. And it's not, because the thing about it is, I agree with you, Shawn. I understand that a lot of what's happened in the last year, stuff that we've seen in the last couple of years, as changes have started to happen, a lot of this exists on the plane of a AAA market. And the thing about it is, it's not, you don't get it. Now, things that I have seen as I've moved from just owning consoles to owning consoles and PCs is that, especially for PC, that there is a gigantic indie market now. Now, that wasn't always the case prior. So a lot of all we received was AAA. And what we're seeing, all these issues and this anxiety arising about the future of gaming is coming from the realm of AAA gaming. And again, from everything you detailed, from the focus on making money and manipulating consumers to the disconnect between the two, disconnect between consumers and the producers of the content, all of that you see exists on the AAA market. You have all these big ass companies trying to get their hands in the money pot because they're all starting to recognize gaming as a very decent source of income. So you have all these companies flooding in, and as companies that already exist, such as publishers and developers, get larger and larger, and as more people come into gaming as a whole, I think we will continue to see the AAA market shift. And I think what's happening with Battlefront is like that first step. And now we did pretty much sit them the fuck down and made EA sit in the naughty chair and put a dunce cap on their head because of the stupid shit that they did. And I just read an article that the sales of Battlefront 2 for the first quarter were abysmal. That they were like 60% of Call of Duty World War II. Just like horrendous sales, and they're seeing backlash. We're starting to see backlash even over this last year with the whole loot box fiasco. There's been a lot of backlash for publishers and developers trying to take steps in manipulating their audience. And again, all this kind of sits in the realm of AAA. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but I understand all of the fears. I understand, and I think we'll still continue to see this because, as we've said it before, but as gaming continues to grow, you have more people that treat it more as like an aspect of their life, and then people that just treat it as something that they can put an hour into every day or a few and just kind of enjoy it, and maybe as an avenue spending money and just getting enjoyment out of, and a casual kind of mentality to it. And we've said all this before, so I don't want to harp on this too long, but I'm not in fear entirely, because I feel that, like Shawn said, that with any change, you'll always see a sort of backlash, because as stupid as people are, they're not that stupid. And we saw that with EA. A lot of people put their foot down. They're like, come on, guys, chill the fuck out. And at this point,
it's taken 10 years for people to do that. They should have put their foot down a long time ago. Gamers are lazy.
All this is happening in the realm of AAA. I've seen fantastic games that I've played that were complete. They were based off small teams and they're indie. You have complete transparency with the developers, what they're doing, what they're planning on doing. You get very vibrant, passionate, huge games. Like one of the ones that always comes in my head is Hollow Knight, a fantastic Metroidvania, very polished animation and graphics. A lot of it is like cell drawn. Well, I don't think it's done by cell, but it's on a computer, but it's like hand drawn styled animation, and it's just a fantastic game all in all. Everything about it that I've played, and it's a game released. It's I think it's like $20-$30. You have an entire game. It's like a 20 to 40 hour experience, depending on what difficulty you're playing on, and you have an awesome game. And it just sits there, and then the developers are building up a resume for like, hey, in the future, we release this new game. It kind of like how you see it would echo what it is in the past. They release a game, they build a resume as a developer, and they build trust with their consumers, so they could continue to release titles that they know that fans will buy. But with AAA, all of it's about, we have multiple companies stepping in, trying to make as much money as possible. And when that gets in the way, there's manipulation because they know that what they've been doing has been working. So it's all about testing the battleground, or I don't want to say battlegrounds, but testing your audience. Like, how much can we get away with?
It's kind of an interesting metaphor, even if it's accidental.
Yeah. So I echo the fears that Shawn have entirely. I understand all of it, but I don't think that gaming's going anywhere, and I don't think Shawn said that. I don't know what I'm trying to get out of my mouth, but I echo Shawn's sentiments, and I am personally excited. I'm personally excited too, because like Flash said, or Sam, that 2017 was one of my best years in gaming in like the past decade. I will look back on this year fondly because we had so many fantastic games come out in such a quick time span and so many fantastic experiences. It's like this year will be, at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of others, will be a memorable year to come. And with 2018, we already have a pretty decent lineup moving into 2018 with all these games coming out. So I'm always excited because I feel that no matter what, there's always someone somewhere that's passionate, especially with video games. And if they're passionate, that video game will gain traction. You'll always see it sprout up somewhere. You'll hear about it somewhere. And then now you got a fantastic experience you could enjoy and talk to other people about. And we see it all the time. So I am excited as well, but I'm more excited than I am anxious, because I think that even if it does happen to the AAA market, it'll just get to the point where I just accept that I might not see any really cool licensed games, and I just have to deal with new IPs, which I'm not necessarily afraid of. So, we're already an hour in, for fuck's sake. We still got a lot to go through.
I used to be right there with you, man, but now I could at least count on the Japanese developers, but now they're following Western. So
yeah, but they're AAA. I think at this point it's just you got to be wary with AAA, and it's a shitty thing to say because a lot of our favorite things are AAA. They're licensed. So
AAA has budget; they're able to do more.
Yeah.
They're just not doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I mean, the money's become more important than what they're building with the money, and that's upsetting.
Yep. No, I feel you.
But
100%.
anyway, yeah, moving on.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Sam. If any of you out there want to have a question read on the podcast, feel free to hit us up. We do through Discord, email. You can hit us up with the hashtag TP mailbag on Twitter. Any of those avenues you can send us, just hit us up. Say, hey, we got a question. I want you guys to talk about this podcast, and we'll be happy to add it to the mailbag. It's been a long day. Stumbling over my words, not like I normally don't. But so we're gonna move on to our segment, Kyle Ruins. The story continues this week. I hope you guys are enjoying.
You better not be fucking with Ghostbusters.
No, we are. We read chapter 2 last week, and it involved Wolverine.
I really hate this segment. I want to go on record of saying I do not like this being a part of the podcast. I am not joking. I do not want this. I don't want this. I absolutely hate fucking fan fiction. I hate this kind of fan fiction the most.
It's so cringy. I love it though. It's got like a cringe charm to it, and I think I enjoy it. So last week we had back at Ghostbusters HQ, we had Janet, Wolverine, and girls shitting in each other's mouths. So we're gonna move on to the next segment. Who
suggested this again?
It was my idea.
Your idea. I love you, Colin. You're my friend. But when we finally get to hang out, I'm gonna stab you in the kidney.
Okay, just make sure. I might need that.
Both of them.
Okay, well, I'll be prepared with a donor. So that was chapter 2 we read. We're gonna read chapter 3 and 4 because they're both kind of short, and it won't be that long at all. And then we're not actually. We only got a couple more chapters, and we'll be done with that. Oh,
forever, I hope.
I read the last sentence, and everyone in Stillwater was obliterated that day. No survivors. So what the fuck? What happened? I guess anything's ready. So we're gonna read chapter 3 and 4. So let's, as I said last week, let's bring down the mood. I want you all to, if you're available, get a nice glass of wine, some cheese maybe, and get ready. We're gonna continue this. Actually, stay away from food.
More than enough cheese. movies
Yeah,
for anyone else.
maybe stay away from food. You might not want to be eating any food. So now we're back at Ghostbuster HQ. Oh shit, my bad.
I hate you.
Okay, I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you're back for this. You missed last week, Shawn. We had a very eventful last week. All right.
I was really hoping it would be done last week, so I'd never have to hear it again.
No, it's okay. Oh, well, where was I? Oh,
it's done. You finished. Good job.
No, I wasn't. I lost my place. Okay, we're back at the hotel. Yeah, we're back at the hotel. All right. So this is chapter 3 of A New Shade of Green. Back at the hotel, it had been an hour, a full. God damn it! There's a writing of this. A full hour of Slimer fucking. Sam didn't even hurt anymore.
Headphones are out. Just send me a text when you're done.
He had even came several times. He wondered what was keeping him alive. He should be dead after all. He also wondered if Slimer could even come. That's a pretty good question. I was thinking the same thing. It didn't seem so after an hour. Then he felt Slimer pull out. He wondered what was going on. His asshole ached from two things: overuse and the lack of giant cock. It was overuse and the lack of giant cock it was now used to. He looked behind him to see that Slimer now looked like he was dying. Spelled dying wrong. No, morphing, growing, changing. He was changing form. All right, that was chapter 3. Moving over to chapter 4, we have Ghostbuster HQ. Steve has started fucking her ass. Okay, now, to explain, I think this is Wolverine from chapter 2, which was last episode. So I'm as lost as you guys are. Steve had started fucking her ass. It hurt, but it helped that the woman was now fucking her pussy with a strap-on she had gotten from her car. There's so many plot holes, I can't even. She had also revealed her name, Jean Grey. Oh my god! Oh my god, I didn't expect that. She had said, whoever that was. Her and the woman kissed, then Steve. So we have Wolverine fucking Jean Grey, who is being fucked by a random woman. Or wait, wait. Oh no, yeah. So in Ghostbusters HQ, apparently their front desk attendant is Jean Grey, who now Wolverine is fucking her ass, and this random woman who shit in Jean's mouth. I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming that's the case. Whoever that was. Her and the woman kissed, then Steve came. He howled, then he grew metal claws. He stabbed her. Then Jean put her hand to her head. They were then floating. Logan then started to shit. But, oh man, you got a bit of a cliffhanger for this week. That was, I told you, shorter chapters. That was that. We only have a couple more chapters left and we're done here. So, yeah. That was the last sentence. Logan then started to shit. But, so, we don't know. I'm going to let Shawn know that we're done. Fucking asshole. If you guys are listening, Shawn's an asshole. That's all you gotta know. So, yeah. So, quite an interesting read this time. I'm still confused as ever. We're jumping between locations, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But, yeah. I guess we ended at Ghostbuster HQ. So, that was Kyle Ruins. I need to look, actually, since we're getting close, I need to look for another fan fiction we can read. We have so many segments now that we kind of have to flip in between them, so I don't know how I'm going to have that rotation going. But for now, we're going to stick until we finish with this fan fiction. We're going to stick with it. So, that was that. It's just a complete goldmine of literature artwork. It's a masterpiece, and I enjoy it, and it's really fucking cringy, I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised if you guys can get through this, because I have hard enough time just reading the damn thing. I'm trying to get Shawn back in here. Okay, he's back. Hey, Shawn. Welcome back. Alright, so that was that. I closed out of that tab for today. It was Kyle Ruins. The segment's done. And we're going to move on to our box office tops. You missed a very central moment, Shawn. So we're gonna move.
No, I didn't. No, there was nothing I missed.
So we have our box office tops for the weekend of December 8th to the 10th. At number 1, we still have Coco, ranking in 18 million for the weekend, sitting at a total gross of 135 million at week 3. At number 2, we have Justice League, pulling in 9 million, sitting at 212 million for being on week 4. So what, they spent like $300 million making that movie? So not doing too well. At number 3, we have Wonder, sitting at 8.5 million with a total gross of 100 million on week 4. At number 4, we have The Disaster Artist, which I really want to go see. It's the basically a biography about Tommy Wiseau, right? I think that's what it is.
Kind of, sort of. It's a comedy movie that looks fun at it.
I've heard that James Franco does a fantastic job playing him, and it's just got me. I'm just so giddy to go see it. Last week it was number 12th, and now it's number 4. It had a 431% increase in revenue, which is insane from last week. I'm assuming people just didn't understand what it was entirely, and then now people all know, and they're like, hell yeah, it's a parody of The Room, kind of. So that has totaled 8 million gross on its second week, and at number 5 we have Thor Ragnarok making 6 million. Barely nudging in last, sitting at $301 million on its 6th week. So it's in its final steps of the box office, but it's still sitting in the top 5. So that's crazy. $300 million. Insane. What I wouldn't give for a percentage of that. So again, that's how the box office is doing this week, guys. Some interesting movies. Again, like I said, I'm really excited. I want to go see Disaster Artist. And it's interesting to see it had such a big change from opening week to the next week. I don't know. I'm assuming it's just the word of mouth spread, and people are like, "Hell yeah, I want to go see this." So, good greetings and good cheer for all who draw near. For the Thought Patrol crew has a gift for you. Splendor and awe from the greatest flicks even Saint Nick would guffaw. Welcome to 31 Days with the Thought Patrol podcast. All right, moving forward, since, again, this is all a super packed episode, we have our review corner, and we're talking about Santa Claus the Movie, the 25th anniversary edition. This movie, Shawn, you explain it. I'm going to pull up a wiki for it so I give factual information.
Well, the 25th anniversary is mostly just a remaster. I don't really think they added all that much to it, at least not as far as my memory serves. Santa Claus the Movie is kind of like an origin story for Santa Claus. And I've only seen 2 Santa Claus origin stories that were at all satisfying besides that stop-motion children's one from 40 years ago or some shit like that. With Mickey, I think it was Mickey Rooney who did the voice, if I recall.
Yeah. Real quick,
but
let me read the 25th. I'm sorry. Let me just read some of the stuff for it real quick. It's a 1985 British-American Christmas film starring Dudley Moore, John Lithgow, David Huddleston in the title role. It's the last major fantasy film produced by the Paris-based father and son team, Alexander Ilya Salkind. It was directed by Janet Swark?
French chick.
Yeah. And was released in North America November 27th, 1985 by TriStar Pictures. So this 25th anniversary was basically, they just remastered it and they re-released it. It pretty much stayed exactly the same, besides a little bit of a, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think. So yeah, that's the movie. As Shawn was saying, origin story. Continue with your beautiful voice, mister. I just wanted to give off some information real quick.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I think that Santa Claus's strongest point is its effects. Obviously, being in the 80s, it was all practical effects for the most part. But the thing that's so stunning about it is how they created the living spaces and the workshop and everything in the North Pole is just gorgeous and extremely impressive in terms of how everything looks. It's all made from wood. The first 2/3 of the movie, when I was a kid, this movie was fucking pure magic. I adored it. I had all the stupid storybooks. I had everything. And when you watch it as an adult, it really plays like a child's storybook. When you're in first, second, and third grade and kindergarten, the books that are written for that age range really skip any important details, and they only give you large chunks of story arc. Anything that's in depth or has any high level of detail to it is not included in the story. So anybody who's a parent out there has younger siblings, when you see their storybooks, they're really rudimentary and they're not very good to read. Like, as a parent, when I used to read these kids' books to my daughter, I hated them. I only read them because reading books, I mean, you understand, my kid had Bram Stoker's Dracula read to her at the same age that I read it. So she was like 6 years old. Or no, I think I read it when I was 3, actually, if I remember correctly. But anyway, I read a bunch of complicated books to her, but she wanted to read not just adult books, but she also wanted kids' books too, with her, like things that she liked, like Ninja Turtles or whatever. So I'd buy those kids' books and I read them, and I hated them because it would be like 8 pages long, and they'd condense a story into a couple of major little arcs that ended with a hug or a handshake or some dumb shit. But that's, kid books for you. This movie plays like a kid's book reads. So you've got any kind of element of realism or character choices that make any sense really isn't there. I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's just a kid's movie. So when I watched it with kids' eyes, it was perfect. When I went back and watched it like 15 years ago as an adult, I was kind of disappointed with how bad the story is. Because it's like an 8-page kid's book story. But what it makes it worth watching is it really does, for the first 2/3 of the movie at the very least, it really does feel like a great Christmas movie. The kid in you is thoroughly alive, just eating up all the visual feasting of the workshop and the elves and all the colors. And up until it hits modern day and they do the whole New York thing, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It's just really good. It moves a little fast, but it's a visual feast, and it feels really sparkly and magical and wonderful. And I suggest it to everyone for the first 2/3 of the movie. The last third, you could do the entire plot of the last third in like 3 sentences, and it's not believable or realistic, even in a fantastical kind of sense. It's just dumb, but I still think it's worth watching. But the reason why I suggested it for the Christmas thing is because it is a Christmas classic. There's a Debbie Gibson song called Christmas Around the World or some shit that's been a mainstay of all the Christmas radio stations forever. That's the movie it came from. It's kind of like a little nugget of Christmas culture in Hollywood, where they used to make movies that really tried to be a good Christmas movie. It wasn't just a cash in for money. I mean, obviously it's a cash in for money, but that wasn't the entire goal. They were trying to make a cool Santa Claus story. And for the Santa Claus portion of it, they did. Once the whole go to New York and John Lithgow and all that shit kicked off, it gets retarded. Although John Lithgow does do a great job chewing the scenery as the corniest bad guy ever. But I really loved his job, overacting everything. But that last third is instantly forgettable and terrible. But that first 2/3, like, I suggest everyone watch the movie just off of that experience. Because when you were little and you tried to imagine what Santa Claus's workshop was like, this is it. The whole exploring it, how he becomes Claus, where he comes from, the process they go through making the toys, everything. It's just so painstakingly done, and there's such a love to the whole magic of Christmas involved. That's why I suggested it. A lot of people haven't seen it. They don't remember it. They don't know about it. And I think it's worth watching. But if you don't have the $2-3 to rent it off of Amazon, if you have Amazon Prime, they have the original version that isn't remastered that you can watch for free.
Okay. Yeah, I watched it on YouTube. I paid the $3 because I couldn't find it. So I'm like, whatever, fuck it.
I rented it on Prime for the same. It was $2.99, I think.
So what I'm trying to say, that I'm not trying to repeat everything you just said because you pretty much hit all cylinders, but I do agree with you. I really like the whole set of Santa's workshop. I think another thing was really cool is a lot of the camera work in the shop was very like sweeping shots. It felt almost like you were like participating in a musical with all these elves moving around again, all practical effects. They just had a bunch of old people in stitched clothing. I thought a lot of the costuming was really good. All the elves felt and looked like elves. It felt like a musical in a way, even though they might have not been singing anything, but you had really wide panning shots. They were showing off. They were really proud of this fucking set because they were showing it off as much as they could, and it looked fantastic. It was really just, again, very genuine. Again, with it all being practical, nothing stuck behind a green screen. It just looked really awesome. It was very detailed, even from like, you could see like in Santa's workshop, some of the toys that they had on the shelves, or like some of the little like knickknacks that would sit around the room. It felt very lived in. It felt like, again, 100% Santa's workshop. It was believable. It was really believable. It was really awesome to just see. It was very, very... it treated the eyes very well, and I really enjoyed just looking around, even sometimes like pausing to look around in the background, see what kind of little details that they put into the set. Was just stuff that they wouldn't even hope you'd look for, but just stuff you'd find that you stumble upon by accident, just to see how much detail that they had put into the set. It was really good. I thought it was funny that like, did Nick, before he turned to Santa, did he fucking die? Was he dead? And then he like...
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if they died and were reborn or what. Like, when you're a kid, you don't notice that detail. But they were... I mean, they did... That was the one thing in the show that was such bad effects, was they were doing the snow. They could clearly see... I mean, visually, Vision was definitely impaired, but it was like a light fog level of impairment. Like, the snow wasn't nearly thick enough. And she's like... Chris, I can't see you, and I'm like, he's 4 feet away, and the snow's not that bad. I know
he's right in front of you. I thought she was going blind or something. I was confused. I was like, oh.
No, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit and just go, okay, so they're supposed to be in a thick snow blind, even if they really didn't have the technology level to do that. I get you. Okay. But I don't know, man. I don't know if they just...
I felt hella bad, dude.
And the elves teleported them there, or if they died and were brought to where... I mean, I guess it's a moot point, but I really don't know. I was wondering the same thing.
It was very oddly like religious in a way, where like a big light shines down and you're in a magic or in a pseudo fantasy place, and it's like almost like perfect. You don't die. You don't, or I don't know if they get hungry. I know they eat, but you don't die. You live forever. It was really like oddly religious in a way. And again, it's Christmas, I understand, and it was in '85, so they could have been. I don't think
it was an intentional allegory, but I could see it.
Yeah,
I mean, Santa Claus was born from Christianity, but the myth that he turned into was not.
Yeah,
Christian. It's just a thing. Fairy tale.
But I felt really bad when like the reindeer were like slowing down and basically puttered out, and I'm like, oh well, they're all dead. Wonderful. What a good way to start a movie.
It was. I was sitting there. I was like, wow. If you're little and you and because I was a extremely intelligent kid, but even I didn't clue into them dying. I just like, oh, they fell asleep, which was what happens when you're dying from the cold. The first thing that happens is you fall asleep, and then you go into shock and you die. So, but I don't know. They fell asleep from the cold and then woke up at the North Pole. So I would imagine that they didn't, but I don't know. Either way, the end result is the same.
Yeah. So from that,
I wondered the same thing. I was like, did they just die? Did I just watch Santa Claus die?
Yeah. So from that, they move on to the workshop. Again, we get to see the elves. They start making toys. Santa's there. They have a new Santa. And they have like this really odd scene of like a proverbial passing of the torch from, I'm assuming, is the old Santa? No, he's the elven elder. Oh, okay.
He was the first elf.
See, the way I had taken that is I thought he was like the old. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. This was a while of the movie.
No, they when they talked about him, they introduced him as the the elder elf or some shit like that. A portion of
the movie, because I was getting ready because it was Sunday that day, but we were going to this pageant and all this other stuff, and that's one of the reasons that the schedule got so fucked up and we didn't record on Sunday, and it was just a mess. I was watching it trying to get ready so we could talk about it that night. So it was from moving from watching it on the TV on YouTube to then opening it up on my phone and watching it on 4G on the way to the pageant. So I think I might have missed it, but it felt like a proverbial passing of the torch in a way. But that makes a lot more sense of an elven or elven, but I guess that works. But elder
Yeah,
elf.
he's an elder.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they don't age, but they don't really get into the culture or the history of the elves. I mean, you get some of their culture, like they just love what they're doing and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But I don't know much beyond that. It's not the kind of movie that's like, hey, let's give you answers. It's more like, here's a fantastic place, enjoy, have fun.
Yeah. I also,
which you do in spades.
yeah, I also like the again, like you said, it's like an origin story. We see where Santa kind of originated from, how he came to be. It's cool to see Santa kind of through the centuries too, which is really cool. And as we move into more modern ages, eventually there's a whole bit of, well, it actually becomes very prominent in the third part of the movie, but the whole bit with like the bringing on the automation and having toys being made by a machine instead of elves now, and then there's like that whole debacle amongst the two, the one, or what's his name?
Yeah, that's right about the time that the fucking things jump shark and just get stupid. If they had stayed in the North Pole and focused more on that and spent less time on that dumb, like, homeless kid and John Lithgow.
Yeah, I was like, we were hopping all over the fucking place, the third act of the movie. I'm like, who is this kid? And then I'm like, oh, hey, Santa.
Development.
Yeah. You know what's always funny with Christmas movies is every time Santa drops a present off at a house, he never goes, like, fucking next door. He always, like, flies back up into the sky and goes somewhere else. I'm like, Santa, what the fuck? The rest of the neighborhood, is this the last? You just happen to be on the last house of the neighborhood or something like that? I always found that funny in Christmas music, in movies. He just has to, like...
I did like the fact that, I mean, considering he's probably been in the air effectively for a few years delivering toys while he's traveling through timelessness.
Yeah.
The rest of us are just sleeping 8 hours. So when he finally fucking gets home, poor bitch falls asleep in his soup.
He's tired as hell, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I that little detail I appreciated, and I like the fact that they started to get into him questioning, because Santa Claus is always perfect, you know, he makes no mistakes, he's not
allegory.
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't. There's he's so fey,
yeah,
and he's so mythical that, like, he's not attributed to have a lot of human.
Yeah, aspects to him. I see where you're going.
Flaws, you know? And so to see him questioning his purpose near the end, even though it was because of bad writing and because they really didn't go any further with that, but to see him questioning his purpose, it was like the beginning of, like, oh, I see what this could have been had you written this for somebody with the intelligence higher than a wet match. You know, this could have been something interesting, and then you'd see... You know, like, that's one of the things where I thought it was kind of impressive what they did with the Santa Claus. As much as I enjoyed those movies, but I didn't like the premise of, oh, hey, if we kill Santa, you take his place. Like, that still fucks with my head. But the fact that when you get there, you see them assembling Etch-a-Sketches and shit. And they're like, you know, they're basically doing free manufacturing for toy manufacturers. Just the toy manufacturers aren't making any money off of it. They make the toy and drop it off in a chimney. It's the same toy that gets made by little Chinese kids that you buy in Toys R Us. That part I kind of liked. I like that little wink and nod at that question that they did in there. And I liked seeing Claus, you know, struggle with that idea, but finding Santa Claus fall into a depression because an elf that he talked to 8 times. I mean, of course, he was supposed to have hundreds of years of friendship with him by then, but I don't know. Patch's departure didn't feel realistic. Everything from that point forward just didn't feel. It felt like just a contrivance to stretch the plot on.
Yeah, like.
But again, I'm looking at it from adults' eyes. If you can look at it from a child's eyes, despite the glaring flaws of the third act, it's so charming.
Yeah,
and it really does feel like a good Christmas movie.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way in hell that in a modern, established New York that those lollipop things that made kids float would ever go for like a second attempt. That whatever created that hazard of having kids literally fucking float into the air. Now, I know they didn't always go very high, but imagine how dangerous that is with like a kid. Even if you're levitated, like even like 6 or 7 feet off the ground and you fall the wrong way, you can seriously injure yourself, especially if you're hitting concrete and shit. So I thought like those lollipops, they would have gotten in a lot of fucking trouble for having lollipops that literally like make people float off the fucking ground.
On the other hand, the government would have bought them.
Oh yeah, yo, dude, super soldiers. You just got to eat a lollipop. That'd be, there you go. That's our third act. We should make it ourselves. The government steps in and
Do it like that movie with Jack Black and Mos Def where they replace a bunch of VHS tapes.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I a lot of the biggest pull of it is its charm. There's a lot of it definitely embodies like the kind of like the Christmas spirit. Like everything you thought of Santa as a kid, it's kind of like come to life on the screen, and it's overall a very enjoyable film. What do you want to give it, Shawn? We're going to go out of 5 stars. And also we need to announce next week's, which I have a request from Caitlyn. Even though she's not here, we have to announce next week's movie. But what do you give it out of 5, Shawn?
I give it 4 snowballs out of the color yellow.
Okay, that's pretty good. Out of 5. All right.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd say the first 2 quarters is like
very good.
4 out of 5.
Yeah.
And then the third quarter is garbage.
Yeah, you lose a star on that 5th point, or you lose a yellow snowball. I'm gonna give it 4 law of physics defying lollipops out of 5. So that was that. Definitely recommend the movie if you guys are wanting to get into the Christmas spirit. That is Santa Claus the movie. Either the regular or the 25th anniversary. It has John Lithgow in it. It's an easy way of finding it. And what I have is a request from Caitlyn for next week is the OG Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So the animated, the weird kind of fucking... You know what I'm talking about, right, Shawn?
Yeah, you watch it once. Yeah, everybody's seen that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Also, I haven't, not a movie.
Whatever it is, I haven't seen it in forever, so I'm excited to sit down, watch it again. We can talk about it, whatever it is, and stuff.
We should add something to it then, because that's
how short is it?
I mean, that's only it's like 15-20 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay, then.
Yeah, well, you take the advertisements and shit out. It's a half-hour Christmas special. They usually pair it with Frosty.
So that shows how long.
3 Frosty cartoons. There was they did 2 Santa cartoons. Same team that did Rudolph. Same Santa animation, the whole 9.
Well, how about we do
2 Santas, you had 2 Rudolphs, and you had 3 Frosties.
Well, how about
and they would put them together in an hour block. You do 2 and 2.
Well, how about we do? I'm thinking then, what can we slap onto it that's actually a film? We can do. You want to do Disney's?
They had a Christmas movie called Prancer, but I don't know where you could find it.
Oh, you want to do Disney's portrayal of Christmas Carol? The animated bit.
Oh, was that the one with Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey in it, yeah. I always get the names mixed up. Yeah, you want to do that and add that on to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer since it's like a 15-minute thing?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it.
I don't think that'd be too hard to find either. It even plays on TV. I'm sure you could find it on TV somewhere. Actually, let's do this.
We could pair it with like animated Grinch or live action Grinch, worst case scenario.
Let me see something real quick. Let me look on Netflix, I guess, since we kind of started it with it being easy for other people to find it. So let me check on Netflix, see what they have for Christmas films, and we'll see. We'll pick one from there. Man, gotta love, again, professionalism to the max. I guess I could just type in Christmas. You think that'll work?
I think they have a category for it, but it's not complete. You should also check Amazon Prime since you have that. I would check it with you, but I'm in the midst of multitasking at the moment.
Okay, so
there was you should find something that maybe not everyone has seen. Like the Jim Carrey thing, even is relatively recent.
Okay,
I mean, it doesn't have to be not recent. I'm saying recent isn't bad, but there was if Netflix still had it, there was this really interesting other idea on the
I got
birthplace of Santa Claus. It was
My Little Pony, A Very Minty Christmas.
I will cut you so bad.
How about Bob the Builder, Bob's White Christmas?
No.
Or Power Rangers Megaforce, the Robo Night Before Christmas. Oh my God. I'm looking.
You do that one where Santa Claus fights demons on Christmas. That old ass fucking German horror movie.
That sounds badass. The Three Doggeteers. Wow.
Why did we let you do this?
This is really shitty. I thought there'd be like decent Christmas movies on Netflix. Let me see.
Netflix has gotten really weird with their budget recently.
Oh, not family friendly. Christmas children and family movies? No, these are all animated bullshit. Wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
They have a lot of the old school specials on Amazon Prime. They've got like the Rudolph and the two with Santa, one where he's younger, one where he's like middle aged, and then they've got the Rudolph one. They have a bunch of them. We could watch all of the ones on
Is this
Prime.
it? A Christmas horror story? This anthology features a quartet of holiday-themed horror tales, including...
Oh, no, that's the one I told you about. That one's actually it's weird.
Yeah.
It's fun. We could watch that. I've seen it. It's not too long.
We could watch Bad Santa too, or Bad Santa. Also probably shitty.
I would definitely suggest Christmas Horror Story over Bad Santa. Bad Santa is opening a can of worms.
Pee-wee's Big Holiday. Wasting so much time. Small Town Santa. I don't even know what that is. Wow, these are all
nothing that they would play on Lifetime, dude.
These are all fucking garbage. Come on, Netflix. You need to step up your shit.
The Christmas Horror Story one's pretty decent. They got a Krampus one. They've got a...
I don't want to watch horror.
Santa Claus fights off. It's not terribly scary, but you do have a point.
I just want to feel like...
Santa Claus fights off a bunch of zombies, which is strange.
I'm just at the point where Count said a Christmas Prince was okay.
No.
The Legend of Frosty the Snowman. It's an hour and 6 minutes. You want to watch that? It's an animated.
Who's that? How old is it?
2005. I don't know. I don't know if it's a kids movie or not. It looks kind of like it. It's got me rough. All these are fucking shit, man. I thought this would be a lot easier. Amazon Prime. I'm going.
I would. God, if this fucking mission would finish, I could help.
Stay with us, everybody. We're looking. I want to give you guys a decent movie to watch. Okay, Amazon Prime Video, right? How the fuck do you get to the video?
You just press up and then switch over.
Up? What?
Yeah, because you've got video and TV.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. You're looking at a different section.
Okay. Amazon. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. It's Amazon Prime Video. Let's try that. I just want to find something that we can all watch and talk about as a group. All right. I'm on Amazon Prime Video. Let's go Prime Video. Christmas. Chrisman is what I typed in. All right. So we have... God, I hate the Lifetime Christmas films. Fucking shit.
Yeah.
We have
Christmas Boyfriend.
We have a Charlie Brown. I Want a Dog for Christmas. That's on Prime. I love the Charlie Brown stuff. That was
Charlie Brown's always an option.
That was 2003.
That's a short one.
Christmas with the Cranks. That's Tim Allen. I don't remember that. I think I remember seeing that. It's like they don't want to decorate their house and they try to go on vacation.
Yeah.
And their neighbors are all whack jobs.
tore it apart and then said he liked it anyway.
There's Frosty's Winter Wonderland, 1976. That's 24 minutes.
That's that's part of the Frosty trilogy.
So you guys you want to do that then?
The Gets a Wife, then the Winter Wonderland.
So let's do, instead of watching a full film then, I guess, because I didn't think it would be this hard to find them and we still got another like 2 weeks to do this. Let's do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty's Winter Wonderland. And we'll come back talking about both of those. And that's about 40 minutes, 40 minutes. Do you want to do that?
I'll watch all of them because they also have the Santa Claus ones on there.
So let's do that. So Frosty's Winter Wonderland. So all you tuning in, Frosty's Winter Wonderland, 1976, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is around that time frame too. So those two films, you could find them on TV, and I'm sure you could find it online somewhere, even if you got to bootleg it. But for Frosty's Winter Wonderland, that is on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, which a lot of people do, just go to Amazon Prime Video and search up Christmas movies or the title, and then there's a Watch Now section. You can watch the entire film, or it's animated feature. So that will be what we'll do. Talk about it next week, hopefully, if everything is if all the stars align and we're all here. We'll talk about it. I'm gonna try and get everyone back over here. So I'm gonna get.
Why don't we watch Charlie Brown too?
Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales.
Yeah, include that one in.
All right, cool. So that's an hour of content. So we got 3 things.
There we go.
Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales, which is also on Amazon Prime. We have I'm going to add these all to the watch list. Frosty's Winter Wonderland, and then Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And even if you can't get all 3 of them, pick 1 or 2 to watch so you can still participate in the conversation and feel free. Also, if you guys did watch Santa Claus the movie, feel free to leave a comment below what you guys thought of the film. Whether you agreed with us or didn't agree with us, and we'll be happy to hear from you. So, with that out of the way, that took way too long because we did. Well, I need to prepare for that more in the future. We need to discuss it beforehand. So, we're gonna. I know, us preparing, right? So we're going to move on to our What to Look For segment. These are the games that, for the most part, will be coming out over the next week that you guys have to look forward to. So we actually have a lot coming out on December 12th, and for the most part, that's all we got for the week ahead. We have The End Is Nigh coming to the Switch on December 12th. We have Fallout 4 VR coming to the HTC Vive on December 12th. We have Okami HD coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on December 12th. And we have Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on December 12th. So, you guys have some games to look forward to in the next week. Also, if you're enjoying that Monster Hunter beta, let us know with a comment. I'm just thinking of ways that there could be interaction of some sort. I don't know. I'm thinking. So yeah, that's what you guys got to look forward to in the next week. Some ways to just throw away money. We would love to provide you guys with that. So we're gonna move on to our news segments. Our news segment. We only got 2 articles, not too much this week. It's just some small things because the big bulk of what happened last week was PSX and Game Awards. So we have Outlast 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch. This is Aiden Strahun of GameSpot, and he says Outlast and Outlast 2 Switch ports are incoming. Right now, we know for sure that both ports will hit the hybrid system in Q1 of 2018. Developer Red Barrels announced the ports via Facebook, thanking fans for sticking around for the last 5 years, detailing a little more about the future of Outlast and what fans can expect next year. We don't have a specific release date or price point yet, and no details have been released whether if either port will have any exclusive or additional content. Hell yeah, I wanna play as, I don't know how that would work, but give me a Mario hat in a horror game. There's like an option where you could put Mario hats on all the enemies. Nintendo loves putting Mario or Link's like persona in games that they get ports for. Look at Skyrim.
Or Bayonetta.
Oh yeah, Bayonetta. Oh, well, we'll talk about that, but we have Bayonetta news coming up too. We don't have
I'm excited about that game.
As for the future of the series, the post details DLC is not in the works for Outlast 2. Fans' cries have been heard regarding more content, but according to the developer, the title simply wasn't made with DLC in mind, unlike its predecessor. Part of the issue with DLC for Outlast 2 is that the ideas just don't work as additional content. The game was designed to make you feel like a rat in a maze without any knowledge of what's outside the maze. Not all hope is lost, however. The team is working on a new Outlast-esque experience, though it won't be a sequel. Quote, currently we're working on something a lot of you have been asking for. It won't be a sequel to Outlast or Outlast 2, but it will be a distinct experience set in the Outlast universe. We can't say more right now. We first need to make sure that we can make it work. Like I mentioned, we strive to be risk takers, and this one's a pretty big challenge. If all goes well, we'll soon be able to reveal more. Coming to the Switch in 2019, Outlast Mario Kart. I think that's a big risk take. Outlast 2 is not that good, though, so I don't want any extra DLC for Outlast 2. I do like the Outlast games, though. Well, the first one, at least. I'd like to see more from Red Barrels.
Why do you suppose they fucked it up so bad? Like,
I just think that there was like an intention for it to be profound and like prophetic and to make you think, but I don't think they spent enough time building up to that point to like actually hit you like home. Like the whole time you're supposed to care about this wife that you've had no time with for the most part, besides a helicopter crash, and you're just supposed to care just because she's your wife. I don't really know if that's enough of a reason for me to risk life and limb to chase after her.
Like, they could build the connection by showing you flashbacks of good times.
But they didn't do that. The only thing you see is them as kids in like when they were. I don't know if it alluded to, but the fact that you're one of the girls. No, that's not even your wife. That's someone else entirely. You have this other girl in your mind the entire time too that you're having flashbacks of. That apparently was raped when you were a kid, and
what?
Yeah, she was raped by it was like in a Catholic or a Christian school or something like that, and she died or she was killed because she probably tried to struggle or something. And it's just all of this stuff. You're like, well, why is this important to the situation now? Besides the fact that you're in a Christian cult-ish area or something like that. I don't know. It just felt so like the whole point was to drive like a scare, and it didn't feel like there was any impact to it. I don't know. That was my opinion. As for the next core Outlast title, Red Barrel's post confirms that there is a place for Outlast 3 at some point in time. Currently, the team doesn't have any details or answers to give, but it will eventually happen, but only if fans can outlast the wait. Who the fuck wrote that? What's your name? Aiden Strahan. That was horrible. Can outlast the wait.
I don't think you necessarily have to build a relationship with somebody to make the player care about them, but there has to be some kind of direction that inspires some sort of connection. And that's a little disappointing that they didn't do that.
I recommend, if you get the chance to play it, I'm sure it's pretty cheap, and then make that deduction for yourself and let me know what you think. But at least from what I had experienced, that's what I pulled from it. All right, one more thing. This is pretty funny. We recently got a trailer for another step into the Hollywood adaptation of anime. Another sad tale. We got a trailer for James Cameron's Alita Battle Angel, which is based on a manga that I think was in 2000s. It was like 2000s, right? Or was it?
Late. No, that was a long time ago, man. Alita's old. Battle Angel?
Maybe the manga...
Cameron's wanted to make that for a long time, though.
Maybe the manga came out in the early 2000s, but it had a book that it was... Let me see.
There was an anime, too.
Yeah. All of the things are talking about the movie. Like, Twitter blew the fuck up, but we'll explain that in a second. I want the wiki for the original. All right, so it was originally a manga series created in 1990, my bad, and was originally published by Shueisha's Business Jump magazine. Basically, it's about a battle android, kind of. It was adapted into 2 anime original video animation episodes. Blah blah blah. So we have a movie coming out. As Shawn said, James Cameron's been trying to make this movie for a long time. It's been in the works for quite some time. But we recently received a trailer, and now this is where everything comes into play. And Shawn, I want to hear. Actually, well, you can't because you're on your phone. See if you can find a way to watch it quietly and give me a reaction of what you think about Alita, the main character. See if you can find a way to do that while I read the article. I'm
somewhat of an expert on it, so yeah, give me a second. I'm going to go on YouTube through the PS4.
Yeah. Silently, please. I don't want to hear it. No, it's short, a short trailer. Just type it in, and I'm going to read the article. I want to hear your reaction of what they decided with a certain graphical design idea that they had. So
I know what it looks like. How do I mute my shit to you?
If you're on your phone, just mute your TV. Or you could.
I get it. I figured it out.
You mute yourself all the time when your dog barks. Come on.
Yeah, I'm about to do that. Okay, I'll be back in like 3 minutes.
Okay, so Shawn's going to read that. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more about Battle Angel Alita. Like I said, it was a manga series created by Yukito Kishiro in 1990. It was published in Shueisha's Business Jump magazine, and it had adaptations for an anime. There is a live action adaptation by James Cameron coming out in July 20th of 2018, so it's on the horizon. It's a series set in a post-apocalyptic future, and it will focus on Alita, a cyborg who has lost all her memories after being found in a garbage heap by a cybernetics doctor who rebuilds and takes care of her, basically. And as, of course, blah, 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 she's sexualized, stuff like that. But basically, they've been working on this movie for a long time. Now, we recently acquired a trailer about the movie, and as Shawn will give us his reaction in a second, there's something about the trailer that they did that I will read about. So the first trailer for it has arrived, and the reaction it's receiving surely can't be what everyone involved was hoping for. Rosa Salazar, who portrays the titular Alita, a cyborg warrior, while for the most part the trailer seems to be a decent adaptation of the source material, and I do agree the trailer looked really badass. I ain't gonna lie, it looks like a cool movie. But there is one major thing that doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie. In the movie, Alita is portrayed as having giant eyes in a normal-sized head. While big eyes are a trademark of many manga and anime classics, it looks downright strange in a live-action film populated with live-action human beings. The eyes and the digital work done to the character's face make her look animated. It took almost no time for many to jump to Twitter comparing the trailer to everything from Who Framed Roger Rabbit to the cult classic E.T. the Extraterrestrial. ripoff of Mac and Me to the Baby in Twilight, New Moon Part 2. The movie attempts to give its heroine IRL anime eyes, and it's the kookiest looking thing. One user says, it's just a little too difficult to look past those giant eyes in the first trailer, which is a shame. A Robert Rodriguez movie that boasts a cast including Christoph Waltz, Mahershala Ali.
What the fuck did they do to her?
Jennifer Connelly and Ed Skrein, just to name a few, should be pretty amazing. They made her eyes like anime eyes, but only did it to her. Why?
She looked like everyone else in the show. Like, it wasn't like her eyes were bigger than the rest of the characters, and that part alone is weird. But what makes it even looks weirder is the animation in it is terrible. It's like Shrek level terrible. Have you seen it? Did you see how she was moving in these CG scenes?
Yeah.
They're bad. They're like 10 years ago level bad. They're like Blade 2 bad.
So
and Blade 2 was awful with those Gumby figures. Holy shit.
So Twitter quickly took to absolutely blowing the fuck up out of this trailer and just making memes left and right, which is what
everything else was perfect.
It looked really good. I'm not gonna lie.
The building, it was all taken directly from the manga. The character designs, everything was on point, except for Alita. I don't understand the horrible animation. They should have stuck with practical kung fu effects. They didn't have to do the super turbo shit for most of that. A lot of that wasn't necessary. I feel like I trust Cameron, but I hope he's not going George Lucas on this.
We'll see. Now, like you said, it does look like a cool trailer. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty excited for it. It's just getting past the eyes will be a little bit of a step initially if I do go to see it in theaters. Just because that's something you have to deal with the entire film. Oh man, 2 hours of that. But for the most part, I'm sure after the first couple minutes, you'll get used to it. And it's easier to look past, especially if you're a fan of the series. It's just something, like you said, it just doesn't seem necessary in any way, shape, or form. And I just don't know, like, how did this get through multiple people? Like, where is like QA something? Like, how did this, like, someone had to sit down and make those effects, first of all. Someone had to tell that person to make those effects, and then people had to overview the trailer and edit the trailer together, and not at one point did someone sit there and say, this looks kind of weird. And it got through that many people.
They showed like 4 or 5 of the other battle androids that were in the story that are very similar to her, only she's a prototype battle android that was thrown out years ago, so she's not as big or as massive or as freaky as they are. But I mean, their eyes are fine. They were fine. Why would you do that? Why would you just have an actress player who's good at kung fu? It's Matrix style. Just get somebody who can fucking do awesome battle shit and CG the parts that she can't do. But that weird, when she jumps in the air and her face twists, and for a moment I saw Fiona. Like, I can't with that. I don't understand.
What are you doing?
The facial expressions and the weird goldfish eyes. Like, what are the eyes for? Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Why is that?
How did this get past so many people? That's my biggest thing. So that's that. That's just a little bit of small tidbits of news. We're going to get on to the main stuff. So recently we had the Game Awards and we had PlayStation Experience happen over the last week. So we're going to talk about the winners of the Game Awards. And I'm going to talk about the Game Awards, or the Ad Awards, as a lot of people have dubbed it. And we'll just go over it a bit. I did watch all of it in its entirety, all 3 hours of it. And yeah. So first, we're going to go over the winners of every award real quick. We're going to shotgun them off, just like they did at the awards. Oh, okay. For Game of the Year, the all-important title, we have Breath of the Wild winning that. For Best Game Direction, Breath of the Wild. For Best Narrative, we have What Remains of Edith Finch. For Best Art Direction, Cuphead. Best Score/Music, we have Nier Automata. Best Audio Design, we have Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. Best Performance, we have Melina Juergens of Hellblade. And also something that was interesting, Shawn, is that woman that plays Senua from Hellblade, she was their video editor. Not an actor, just their video editor, and while they were making it, they needed an actor, and she ended up playing that part, which I think is amazing. For games for impact, we have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice winning. Best ongoing game went to Overwatch. Best independent
I would
game.
have given half those awards to Nier.
Best independent game went to Cuphead. Best mobile game went to Monument Valley 2. Best handheld game went to Metroid: Samus Returns. Best VR/AR game went to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Best action game went to Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Best adventure/action game went to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Best role-playing game went to Persona 5. Best family game went to Super Mario Odyssey. Best strategy game went to Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Best sports/racing game went to Forza Motorsport 7. Most anticipated game of next year went to Last of Us Part 2. The Trending Gamer Award went to Guy Bam or Dr. Disrespect. Best esports game went to Overwatch. Best esports player went to Lee Sang-hyuk, something like that, which his persona is Faker, is his name. He belongs to SKT1, and he is part of the League of Legends community. Best esports team went to Cloud9. The Student Game Award went to Level Squared. Best debut indie game went to Cuphead. Chinese Fan Game Award, I don't know why, went to JX3HD. I don't know what the fuck that is. All right, so now the thing about it is I can understand Zelda winning Game of the Year. And I could even understand best game direction, because I feel like, in general, a lot of what Zelda did to the series was innovative, although I don't feel like they innovated enough, but I do enjoy what they did do to the game. Best narrative, I did watch a playthrough of Edith Finch, and maybe because I didn't actually play it, it didn't have as big of an impact, but I don't think it had anywhere near the narrative or the storytelling prowess that existed in Nier. Which is the only award I'm slightly salty about. The rest of them I understand. Best score/music went to Nier. It's the only award that it won, and Horizon didn't win a single award because Zelda took Best Action Adventure. So, again,
I don't think Zelda deserve that.
A lot of these awards, besides Game of the Year, are all their popularity contests. So for the most part, a lot of these awards,
it's like the Oscars.
A lot of these awards I felt like were good. They were, for the most part, okay. I don't believe that Zelda deserved a sweep to win 3 awards, but I can understand why. It had a big impact earlier in the year. When it came out, there was a lot of people that played it, and it sold a fuckload of copies. And for the most part, like we said, it's literally all these awards besides Game of the Year are fan voted. So it makes perfect sense that Zelda would win most of the categories that it was nominated for, because a lot of people played Zelda, a lot of people enjoyed Zelda. I'm not saying Zelda's a horrible game. I just think that it again, like Shawn said, it was funny. It reminds me of hashtag fuck the Oscars. If any of you actually watched it, there was a developer that came up that made the game A Way Out, and he says like, I worked for EA, and he looked like he just hit like a heavy blunt before he came on stage or something like that. And he's just like all over the place, very laid back, and he just like goes up and he middle fingers the camera. He's like, fuck the Oscars. And like, he's like, I work with EA, they were good for me, but fuck EA and stuff like that. And then he like looks over, he's like, can I curse? I'm like, what is going on with this dude? But it's just, the awards in general were enjoyable. I enjoyed them. I felt like there were a fuckload of ads. Now I understand that it's a really good way of making money, especially I'm happy that they put on this award, but like every other like cut away, eBay's got an offer going on. Chick Hydro, blah blah blah. Here's a new trailer for Battlefront 2. Here's a trailer for this. Here's ads for this and that. And it's just all over. You were just constantly bombarded with advertisements, and it extended the time of the stream for so long. And of course, they held Game of the Year to the last one. The whole show in general was enjoyable. I was willing to sit there for 3 hours and watch it. It was fun to see what could have won, because there were obviously things that I was rooting for that I was expecting to win. And for the most part, I'm okay. I'm
for the gaming industry as a whole. Every 5 minutes there's an advertisement. Games that should have gotten attention really didn't. We're going to mention something, then immediately cut away so we can talk about how awesome Zelda was again, even though we're fucking over whatever game it is that we should be talking about.
One of my biggest gripes when it came to this award is I understand you have to, the advertising is important, is to keep it going or to make money or to try and make as much money as possible, whatever. I understand that. One thing that really rubbed me the wrong way is not every award was announced like the others. Like you'd have best game direction. Someone came up, they showed clips from all the games. Boom, this game wins. We read off a little letter thing. This game wins the award. Awesome. Everyone rejoice your game or your didn't game, whatever. It doesn't matter. But then it cut to the guy standing on the stage. It's like, oh yeah, best RPG goes to Persona 5. Moving on. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? You have to be shitting me. They didn't show anything. They didn't show the other RPG contenders. And they do this to a couple awards. Strategy game was skipped over. It was at the point I was watching people react to the stream. They completely missed the fucking what it was because it was so fast. In a second, something you might have been looking for, like best RPG, because a lot of people play RPGs, although they didn't give enough of a shit to put attention to it. But then they go to best debut indie game and they have all the fanfare. Someone come up and read a letter. Yay, hoo. We got a bunch of people. But to completely skip over strategy and RPG games, just like they were nothing. And the same thing, they did Family Game, they did that. They did the esports games, they skipped over that. And it's just insane. It was absolutely insane. And that shit really pissed me off because like these are supposed like the year where the best games, which is a huge franchise or a huge industry, some of the best games of the year are given their recognition, and to completely skip over certain categories, it just baffled me. I was so pissed off, and it was just so odd. But for the rest of it,
I have some theories.
It was pretty enjoyable. And I understand that RPGs, especially JRPGs, which Persona 5 is, don't get a lot of screen time at the awards because, hey, again, this is a huge industry. Not many people play JRPGs, I'm not going to lie. Persona 5, as big as it was this year, this was some of the biggest attention Persona as a franchise has ever received. And it was nowhere near some of the larger titles. It just didn't get that attention. And that's, I could see, I'm assuming that's what you were thinking, Shawn. The reason they skipped over it is because they assumed for the most part no one would give a shit and no one would really uproar, although some people took them on Twitter, although it's Twitter, no one gives a fuck. But I think
that's part of it.
It just really rubbed me the wrong fucking way. And then they cut to 6 ads, or not 6 ads in a row, but they cut to a bunch of ads in a row. And it's also cool that the Game Awards has also become a place where they announce new things or show off trailers. Like there was a bunch of game announcements, which we'll also go through real quick after we talk about this a bit. But like,
well, you got to keep in mind, like the show's sponsored by major U.S. developers. That's the first thing. So they're getting a ton of money from people to spend more time on what they want them to spend time on. On top of which, you've got Japanese developers, which how much defending of themselves can they possibly manage to do? And considering the American market's been pulling away from the Japanese market so much, I think there's a number of factors that attribute to it, but most of it's just marginalizing.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, they had Nier won Best Music. It was the first award they announced. They had all of the people, they had all the nominees announced. They had little clips of the games, and they even had a message from the developer. They weren't even there. They had a video they played, and that was completely fine with me. I had nothing wrong with it. I could understand, like, how hard is it to do that for every category? And they, especially when so much of the show was filled with ads. There was almost like 30 minutes or 45 minutes of straight advertisements of some sort or another. And for the most part, the rest of it was a very enjoyable experience. They had an orchestra on stage that played music from some of the games, and I thought that was fucking fantastic. They had a really cool Overwatch like thing that they did where they played music, and it was just a fun time, and it felt like a celebration of gaming. For the most part, as commercialized, or not commercialized, but as mainstream as it was, it felt like a celebration of gaming. And for such a fantastic year, I felt like I deserved to kind of view what people thought were some of the better games of the year. So I didn't skip it. I wanted to see it. It just rubbed me the wrong way with the fact that for games, for the whole point of it to be celebrating, what we view as the whole point, because I'm sure the whole point of it is to make money. But for its like projected point of it being, hey, we're here to celebrate the best games of the year. We're here to celebrate what like masterpieces of like development technology or innovative titles and stuff like that. And for them to completely skip over maybe 10 to 20% of these nominees, it really just pissed me off. I'm not going to lie. I'm heated about it. And I'm sure you guys can all tell because I said it multiple times, but for the rest of it, I really enjoyed it. I pretty much agree, like I said, with all of these winners. I understood that Zelda had a huge chance to sweep in the first place, no matter what our opinions are in the first place. So I was a big fan of it. And I might have been salty in the initial thing, but looking back at it, I really enjoyed the time that I spent. I liked the new reviews or the new reveals that they showed, especially that like fucking 9-minute Death Stranding trailer, which just blew my mind. And just everything about it was very enjoyable. And I probably will watch it next year, especially because we'll be doing the podcast still, and I got to report about it, talk about it, and shit like that, because in a very laid-back way, we technically do some form of journalism, because we report stuff that we look at. But
oftentimes reporting somebody else's journalism.
Yep. GameSpot, we're looking at you.
Yeah. Occasionally think geek.
Yep. So that was that. The only thing that I was baffled was that Horizon Zero Dawn didn't win a single fucking thing. That really baffled me. And I'm gonna go over.
They got a good sequel coming up, but it looks more like DLC to me.
Yeah, well, I think it is DLC. The Frozen Wilds is already out, and it's DLC for the first game. So we're gonna talk over some of the trailers that were shown to us for the world premiere stuff. So first thing first, we had a World War Z game. I don't know how I feel about this. We didn't really see any gameplay besides the fact there were fuckloads of zombies doing what they do in World War Z, the film. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of movies turn video games. It usually doesn't turn out for the best. But we'll see where it goes, actually. I like the idea of the World War Z zombies where they work together almost like ants to solve a goal, and there's just so many of them floating around. That'd be cool in a gameplay perspective, but if it's like a shitty cash grab game based on a movie kind of thing, then it might not be too good. Next, we had a trailer for Vacation Simulator, which is made by the dev team behind Job Simulator. So basically, more VR kookiness. There's not really much to talk about there. Moving forward, we had a very, very vague trailer from Software, which is the team behind Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and they showed off a next game. The only words we got was Shadows Die Twice. So we have no idea what it might be. I was hoping for Bloodborne. I'm thinking it might be a brand new IP, but the idea is, I'm excited because I love From Software's titles. They always put a lot of work into their games. Even if you're not a big fan of the combat of Dark Souls, the world that they build and the stories they tell in the way that they do is really cool. So next we have the creators of Firewatch are making another game, and hopefully it has a better ending than Firewatch did. But this is called In the Valley of Gods, and it's about a group of two kind of exploring through a Egyptian pyramid and tombs and stuff like that. So it looks really good. I enjoyed Firewatch for what it was, being just like a very nice story game, even though the ending might have been kind of lackluster.
Walking simulator.
Yeah, but a lot of the focus was on the conversation between the two main characters of the game, and it just felt very genuine, and you were kind of just spending a day or even a couple months in the life of these two characters. So if they kind of...
Why was it that she decided to not stick around and meet you again? What was the point in that?
So they didn't have to animate another person, like a model. That's why.
That was the whole reason? I mean, there wasn't a story reason for that? That was just...
I'm trying to think back for the story. I think there's something that you do at one point that kind of turns her off to you. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was when you... Because she tells you not to go after the dude that you think is because his son died. Big spoilers, by the way. Game's old. I don't give a fuck. The dude's kid dies, and he's trying to hide from that fact. The kid used to hang out with the woman that you talk to, and you go and approach him, and you find his well, you don't find him obviously because they didn't animate any other people, but you find his little lair, and there's something you do that turns her off to you, where she's just kind of lackluster. I think that's the case. I don't remember exactly.
I thought it was just she's like, I don't know, because if we meet each other, it wouldn't be nearly as good as the fantasy or some bull. I don't fucking.
Oh, it might have been like that. I think that
I don't remember. She was afraid of meeting you. It never really tells you. It's just good. It's fucking retarded.
I think you might be right. The ending was very bad. Now I hope that with this they take Campo Santo takes the criticism they got. It looks really cool, and the music they played in the trailer was fucking kick-ass, but it looked really good. I was really excited to see what they come up with next. I like the art design for their games. Everything's very soft, the way the textures are and everything looks. It's a very soft feeling, especially you can see that a lot in Firewatch. The forest itself was very, even though it was open, it was very inviting the way the graphics were. It felt like that to me. And the way that the models were, even though your character looked like Mr. Incredible, for the most part, everything had a very nice aesthetic.
Did you ever actually see your character?
You see your hands. You see your hands, and I think she draws you, right? Does he draw you at one point? But then that's nowhere near what you actually look like, but you know what I mean. So that's definitely interesting. I'm kind of excited for that. Moving next, we have the second Breath of the Wild expansion. Came out actually that day, which was a pretty big reveal. So it's the Champions Ballad. You get to learn more about the champions, which is pretty cool. I like that they're expanding the world because you really didn't know anything at all about the champions prior, which kind of put on my tinfoil hat here. Maybe they did that on purpose and purposely left out story. I don't know. Hey, Nintendo's all about being slow to catch up with everyone else's shit. So they've been taking their first steps into DLC for a while now, but I could see them cutting out parts of the game to introduce later to explain, because none of this is after the game ends. This is all stuff they explained prior to you defeating Ganon. So I could definitely see them cutting this content out to add later to sell to people. You never know. But yeah, apparently you could also have a fucking motorcycle, because why not? That's badass. Link on a motorcycle. Yeah, you get a motorcycle in the DLC. So, pretty cool. We also got a trailer for Soul Calibur 6, which is fucking awesome. So we have a new Soul Calibur coming out, made in Unreal 4. It looks fucking gorgeous. It looks so pretty. So really excited to see that. Especially, I love the character creation of Soul Calibur. Especially people messing around with it. Like I saw some dude, his character used the discus things that look kind of like frisbees, but they're hollow on the inside and they're weapons. And he made it yellow, and his character looked just like Sonic. And if I had to fight against that in an online match, I would not be able to take it seriously. Also, we have Bayonetta 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch on February 16th. And
yes,
they announced Bayonetta 3 is in the works for the Switch. So awesome. I am with Bayonetta and Nier, I am such a huge fan of Platinum now.
All right, I'll buy a Switch now.
Everything Platinum does is just fantastic. So I'm so excited for another Bayonetta game. It is a Switch exclusive. You also have Shin Megami Tensei 5 to look forward to, Shawn. So
hell yeah. Turn-based.
Yeah, after that we got a really weird long look at the Death Stranding game by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. Has Norman Reedus in it and Mad Milkins.
Norman Reedus is likeness.
Well, whatever. You know what I mean. They're all put in the game. The trailer just baffles me. I can't really explain it entirely, besides the fact that it kind of felt like Evangelion to me for some reason. And there's a lot of fetuses in the trailer. Definitely recommend you guys checking it out. Just search up Death Stranding trailer Game Awards. It's definitely something you got to experience for yourself. Just very confusing. And I was reading an article that said that the game would make sense like 4 to 5 hours in. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to play a game for 4 to 5 hours for it to make sense, but I'm definitely excited for Death Stranding. I love Hideo Kojima. He makes fantastic games, and his directorial work is really good. We also got a new game from the people behind Bulletstorm, which is called Witchfire. Looks really cool. Again, all this stuff you could find online. We had a co-op Prison Break game called A Way Out, which has local and online co-op. And it's basically like a Uncharted style third-person adventure game that you play entirely with one other person. Looks really cool. And it's like a very heavy story-based game about these two gentlemen, and they're trying to break out of prison and stuff. And it looks awesome. And it's definitely something that's unique and be really fun to play with someone else. PUBG showed off its new map. So we saw that. I'm sure everyone's all over that shit. A couple other things. We have a new kind of weird looking VR game called Accounting Plus, which it kind of sounds like it's made by the same people that made the Rick and Morty series. I don't know if that's exactly the case. THQ Nordic showed off a new survival game called Fade into Silence, which will be hitting Steam Early Access on December 14th. Fortnite Battle Royale is getting a 50v50 mode, which is fucking crazy.
Nordic, real quick, THQ Nordic, those are the ones that bought Vigil, right?
I think so.
They bought Vigil Games?
I think so. Again, let's look.
They're the ones that are releasing Darksiders 3.
THQ Nordic buys Vigil. Let's find out. It acquires Black Forest. Ex-Vigil devs explain how Darksiders 3 survived the death of THQ. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like it. At one point. Okay.
I'm assuming that's the case, yeah. All right, so...
Okay, cool.
Fortnite got a 50v50 mode. We got some new gameplay from a really cool-looking shooter by the Payday 2 team called GTFO. And
get the fuck out. Yeah,
and it's like a co-op. It's like a 4-man co-op zombie survival horror game, and you have it's done by the people that did Payday 2, and they were all about like classifying roles. So they're like some dude that can like put up a turret. Some people can like repair walls. So it's like a kind of like a cooperative role based like zombie survival game. It looks really fucking cool. We also got a new trailer for Metro Exodus, and finally but a couple more things. They have a trailer for a game called Dreams, which looks like kind of like a dev kit game where they give you a bunch of tools and you could kind of make your own fantasy, whatever it is, and you can experience it in VR too, which is pretty cool. For the most part, that's all the big stuff that came out of the Game Awards. And I know this is a lot of information to take in, especially if you did already see this. It could be kind of boring. But finally, I know not as many people saw PSX as the Game Awards. So we're going to go over some of the game announcements from PSX. I didn't actually watch it. I know it started late one night, and I had to go to work, so I couldn't see it because we live on the East Coast of the United States. So like it started at like 8 o'clock Pacific time, like all the way on the other side of the country. So I'm like, holy shit, it's like 11 o'clock and then it's finally fucking started. So a couple of game announcements. We got a game called Firewall 0 Hour, which is a tactical shooter on the VR set. We have a remastered version of Medieval, but it's...
Yay!
So it's a PS1 action game.
Medieval's so fun.
It's a PS1 action game. It's getting remastered for the PS4. So,
good.
Yeah, and it's getting remastered with 4K capabilities on the PS4, which is pretty cool.
Oh, hell yes. That game is so much fun.
So we got some updates for existing games. For Death Stranding, we had a Death Stranding trailer. Though they say the Death Stranding trailer makes sense after playing 4 to 5 hours, as only executive claims. And the PS4 boss Mark Cerny says at PSX that the Bizarre game actually makes sense eventually. I just said the same fucking thing twice. We have an update for Detroit Become Human. It was played live on the PSX stage. I actually saw a clip of this, and the audience actually got to participate. So it basically was like, so they're the same people behind like Beyond Two Souls and stuff like that, which are like these very heavy narrative games that are all about like your choice matters and it shapes the story and stuff like that. And so basically they set the whole audience up and they got to vote on what option to make in the situation that was presented. It was really fucking cool. You could probably find it online. The Last Guardian and the Wipeout Omega collection got some updates. So The Last Guardian is actually coming to VR. Now, I haven't seen this, so I have no idea how this is going to work, but it sounds cool being able to play with, what's his name, Trico, in VR. I have no idea how that works. I don't know if the whole game is like that or if it's a small experience. I know Wipeout Omega collection is getting a VR update, and Sony adds new additions to the VR catalog during the PSX keynote. We also got an update for God of War, that it will take roughly 25 to 35 hours to complete, and the developer of God of War, basically they reveal that it will take a big chunk of time to beat. Jesus Christ. Other big news, we have a Sony executive hints that we'll be able to change PSN names within the year. If you want to change your PlayStation name, that might be possible soon. I don't know why it took so fucking long, but hey, I could take, you know what I can do, Shawn? I could take my sister's name. Dongfeast 420, it might be my name at one point. I might be the proud owner of Dongfeast 420. So
why would this be again?
They're changing. We might be able to change. Sony executive hints that we might be able to change PlayStation names.
What would Caitlyn be then?
Dongfeast 421. I don't know.
Kind of like her being Dongfeast 420.
Hey, I'll have to find another name. I had one name used to be on Steam, which was Sloppy McFloppy. I might readopt that name.
I don't think she likes the Dongfeast 420 thing too much, but
yeah,
I find it ironic, which is probably why I think it's funny.
It doesn't matter. We'll keep her with it. I might pick up Sloppy McFloppy though. I love that name.
That would work.
Yeah. So that's so we basically just converted everything into a really big ass news segment to kind of get you guys caught up if you did miss anything. For the most part, I didn't see much of PSX. It was very laid back. Like they had people sitting on fucking furniture on stage, just kind of like a one-to-one with the audience. It was cool for what I saw of it, but definitely have a lot to look forward to moving forward. We had a very big celebration of video gaming as a whole, just happened recently. And for the most part, I agree with what people chose for the most part. But then again, everyone has their right to their own opinion. And I do believe Zelda was worth at least, I could see it at least taking Game of the Year. I don't really thought the sweep was necessary, but hey, popularity vote, that's where it's at. Shawn, you have anything you'd like to add?
In regards to the awards?
Anything you've heard about that you're excited for besides Medieval? Just the announcements that we have coming forward. Have you seen the Death Stranding trailer?
No, I've been waiting to watch it.
Yeah, it's really. I showed it to my father. So I was explaining to him about the game, and that was just confusing. And he just like looked at me. He's like, "Well, I'm confused," and I'm like, "Same." Fucking, I wish I understood what was going on. But it just looks really cool. And the thing about it, though, that bothers me is we haven't seen any gameplay. So I don't have no fucking clue how this game's going to play. Is it going to be like a heavily narrative, story-based kind of something like Beyond Two Souls? Or is it going to be like a 3D adventure game or like a third-person action or an FPS? I don't know how the fuck this game's going to play. I have no clue. And with everything that they've showed us, they've given us no hint as to how the game is going to develop or push you through the world. I have no clue. It could be a fucking on-the-rails shooter, and I would have no tale of or anything hinting at it being otherwise. So it's just really confusing. I just don't know what this game's gonna be like, especially with the other titles coming from Hideo Kojima being Metal Gear Solid. Is it gonna play like Metal Gear Solid? I don't think so. I just don't know how it's gonna be. So, but I'm definitely interested to see what goes into it and what it's like. I love Hideo Kojima, so I'll be picking it up. It's just I need a little bit more excitement as we get closer to any kind of release date when it comes out. So, yeah.
I'm excited to see Nintendo continue to support JRPGs.
That's cool. They're all about. I like that they're slowly kind of giving us a catalog of a bunch of different genres of games. So even if you bought a Switch and had nothing else, you could still kind of enjoy every genre. I mean, we got Doom and Wolfenstein 2. We got a Senran Kagura booby grabbing game. We have we're getting turn-based RPGs coming now. We have an open world action RPG, an open world action RPG in Xenoblade. We have an action adventure not very survival, but pseudo survival with Breath of the Wild. And now we're getting another beat 'em up with Bayonetta coming, and they're bringing all three of these games to the Switch. We got a first-person shooter with Metroid Prime 4. They're slowly building. Outlast is coming now, so we're getting horror games on top of the fact that we already have Perception, which is a horror game as well. We have indie games. They're just slowly building up a massive library, so it actually feels like it's worth owning a Switch. And for the most part, I mean, if I was going to play Wolfenstein, I do it on my computer with a mouse and keyboard instead of on the goofy ass Joy-Cons. But people that do only own a Switch, or kids that are getting a Switch for Christmas, have more to look forward to than just Nintendo titles. And
but once again, cool. I find myself returning to the fact that I have, in order to, it's horribly disappointing that they had the opportunity to make a next generation console. Instead, they went with 2 generations ago.
Yeah.
And you're getting shitty ports of other games if you want to play those on your Switch. And that sucks, because I'd really like to be able to carry my Switch to your house and do like a co-op Wolfenstein experience and have the full visual effects. Instead, I can't do that.
Oh yeah,
I can't. For the most part, it's disappointing.
What I've heard from every port is that they're good, but I understand where you're coming from, because the Switch is underpowered. In all honesty, there's no saying against that fact. That is the case, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. And it would have been nice if they just sat down and said, "Boom, we're making a straight up console. Call it the I don't even know what the fuck they'd call it, but I mean, with the fact that I can take things like, although I'd never play Skyrim again in my life, but the fact that I could take Skyrim on the go, I think is cool. But I do understand the gripe of us not having, yet again, for another generation of systems, we do not have a home Nintendo console that is competitive. There is always
since the 64, and even with the 64, there was a lot of technical flaws.
Yeah, there's always some form of gimmick that they rely on. Now, in this case, it's worked very well for them, because it does work well as a portable system, especially the whole docking feature where I could be out, come home, and dock my Switch and play a game on my TV. But it's just, I do understand exactly where you're coming from with that. That the fact that, like, again, we don't have a competitive console from Nintendo, so we'll never see something playing. We'll never see like another like Breath of the Wild for case. Breath of the Wild looks fine because Nintendo's very good, because we've seen from their past experience that everything Nintendo does, they're always working from a disadvantage, because they have to make their games work on shittier hardware. But Zelda looks fine. But imagine Zelda being made in Unreal 4 and on a PlayStation where like everything's fucking gorgeous. Like, that'd be so much cooler to see Breath of the Wild in that sit, especially taking a step into the open world. Now, again, it looks fine on the Switch. It's okay because they went with an aesthetic that is what Nintendo does. They make things smoother, so there's not as much polygons going on screen, and it's okay. It works. It's just, imagine the capabilities of Zelda Breath of the Wild being played on a PC or a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One X, playing Zelda at 4K. We'll never get to see that until Nintendo sits the fuck down, stops relying on gimmicks, and makes a competitive console. So, no, I understand. I do. Especially being a Nintendo fan for so long, I could see people getting tired of like the same old shit. Now, the games have been fantastic. So for the most part, people are okay with the Switch because we've got so many good experiences for it. But if they did not know how to make good games still, they'd be dead in the water. The only thing keeping them alive is the fact that they're so good at making enjoyable experiences. So we'll have to see. I'm sure they're going to support the Switch for a long time, especially since it sold so many goddamn units. And it's...
Yeah, but people just bought it because it was something different, I don't think.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad, man. You had the GameCube, horribly underpowered. You had the fucking Wii, horribly underpowered. You had the Wii U, horribly underpowered. Every time they were doing the same fucking thing. And I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand it. It's just disappointing because they were always competitive, and then one day they just fucking quit.
Yeah.
But, whatever. Sony is the new Nintendo, so I'm good with that.
That works. Fine with me.
Even though they screwed us with the PlayStation Pro, that makes me angry.
Yeah. I wonder...
I hate the fact that video games are turning me into a grumpy old man because I can see how easily they could have gone in a really positive direction. Instead, they're like, nah, let's just do this instead. And
I like you as a
understand
grumpy old man, Shawn. You're my grumpy old man.
All right, boo.
Okay, cool. We'll spoon later.
That's just
all right. So
fucking weird what they do. Whatever.
I think that is going to be it for this episode. Again, just a lot of stuff to talk about. We had a lot happen, which is a huge contrast to last week where literally nothing happened. But now we've been given a lot of information to talk about. We shared it with you. Let us know what you guys thought about Game of the Year. If you thought Zelda deserved a sweep, or if you were looking to hope maybe Horizon won something, or maybe they didn't skip over the fact that Persona 5 won Best RPG. Mm-hmm. You never know. So let us know what you guys think. Feel free to either do that in the comments or even join the Discord. Say hi to us over there. We don't really have... It's not a gigantic community. You don't have to worry about being swarmed with invites because it's still pretty small. It's pretty chill. And we just like to hear from you guys. That's probably the biggest thing. So that was episode 31 of the Thought Patrol podcast. Oh, real quick. I didn't say, if you guys are having issues listening to us on whatever you use currently, we are on a couple more services now. If you don't like YouTube, like most people don't go to YouTube to watch podcasts, I agree. I just put them there because it's another place for people to stumble upon us. But we are now, I'm working on Spotify. We are now on Stitcher Radio, so you can check us out on Stitcher. All of the links to everything that we're currently on, the links will all be down below in the description of either the podcast you're listening to or the YouTube video. You can find every link there. So if you want to listen to us on a different podcast provider, we have a couple more that I'm trying to get us onto. I really hope we could get onto Spotify because that'd be a huge avenue for growth. Because a lot of people use Spotify for podcasting. So Stitcher's available. Stitcher's an awesome service. They have an app for your phone. They're all about podcasts. So you don't get flooded with other shit if you're trying to do stuff. It's very good. The app that I've used the app before. It's very nice. So I recommend that if it's available in your country. I don't know where you're coming from listening to us because Google Play I know isn't available in certain countries and certain things like that. So we're trying to get more avenues for you guys to listen to us, so you're not, because I'd hate to have you guys watch a 2-hour YouTube video. It's kind of shitty, and I understand that. So, because I wouldn't do that. I'll be honest with you guys. So, with all that out of the way, what you got for us, Shawn? You got that beautiful outro? I haven't heard it in a while. I've been missing it.
Hugs and kisses and all your pink parts.
Oh yeah. I'll take a hug and a kiss on my pink part. So, with all that, I shall leave you guys with a thought. I lost it. Fuck.
I'll leave you guys with a... Well, never mind.
Okay, sorry. I shall leave you guys with a thought. Because metal was scarce, the Oscars given out during World War II were made of wood.